Love, family. All is well. Glad to be back.
Now let's get right to it, man. In light of everything that's going on, what are the solutions? I think we've discussed the problem so much. What are the solutions?
All right. Before I state the solution, I would have to challenge you on that. Because although we talk about the problems a lot of people don't understand how the problem operates.
Gotcha.
Let me give you an example. Take miseducation.
Okay.
People know the children aren't learning. They know black boys are not graduating. They know special ed is an issue. They know ADHD is a problem. But they don't know how this operates. They don't understand how the child goes from the classroom into the special education system.
Okay.
So they have to be taught how it operates. You follow? So we understand that police genocide is a problem in the black community. We understand that structural inequality, disproportionality, i.e. racism, is a problem. But do we understand how racism operates? So I think that once you understand how the problem operates and manifests itself, you're now in a position to solve it. Someone comes to me for therapy. Before I do any therapy, what I do, a clinical history. Is there depression in your family? Have you been depressed before? Have you ever contemplated suicide? So I have to understand your background and how you've been living your life in order to solve your current everyday problems. So now, coming to the present, what we're seeing going on around the country. Let's be honest. Africans were brought to America to serve. We're no longer necessary for the American economic order to operate. They don't need us to function. That explains the purging. That explains the ethnic cleansing.
Even with all these Negroes making money?
Well, remember now, when you look at the black folks who are rich, they are a small percentage of the general body politic of the community. You understand? 85% of black folks are struggling. Half of our children grow up in poverty. Most of our single-parent black mothers are poor, even with a burgeoning rate of black women earning their college degrees. So simply put, black America is suffering despite the television projection of success. Yes, we are more educated than ever before. We have the bachelors, we have the masters, we have the doctorates. But that education has not taken place alongside an increase in wealth acquisition. We're smarter, but we still don't own anything.
But we know we're poor. We know some of us are not well educated. We know some of us have a lot of problems due to where we're growing up in our environment.
Yes.
But besides all of that, we got a bigger problem with racism. The way that other people look at us.
I agree.
You know what I mean? But I'm not saying it's right, but the way we look at ourselves is bad too.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Because if I'm walking down the street and I see some brothers with some hoods on, it makes me think twice.
Right.
So if it makes me think twice, I know it's going to make somebody else think twice, but it doesn't give us doesn't give them the right to put a.
But that's based off your experiences, though.
But it is based off my experience.
It's also based off conditioning. The conditioning is critical. Media is critical to the social agenda of any country. You understand? You take Adolf Hitler. Before he did what he did in Germany, he conducted a media campaign that sought to destroy the image of the European Jew in the German mind before the physical Holocaust began. Same thing in America. Before you begin taking the black life, you must kill the image of the black life. So when you look at gangster rap, which plays a hand in it, okay, when you look at the way in which we're portrayed in movies, when you look at the way in which we're portrayed on the radio, popular media, magazines, it is in a very negative way, as if to say these people, the world would be better off without these people.
That's why they release people criminal records when they kill them.
Exactly. In other words, it's not so bad that he died because he went to jail anyway. So you have to kill the image before you kill the person. Why? Because people will take up for people who are unjustly treated. But if you can convince the world that we would be better off without these people by killing their image, then when the physical carnage begins, no one will care.
How do we change that, though? How do we change the way that America looks at African Americans, and how do we change the fact that these racist individuals, racist police officers, stop pulling out the gun? See, I think you have to penalize them. Meaning, it's kind of like a kid. Your kid does something bad, and you say, okay, it's okay. He's going to continue to do it. But if you bust his ass, next time he's thinking about doing it, he's going to be like, well, you know what? My pops is going to bust my ass. I feel like the police officers that kill African Americans, just kill people in general, they don't get penalized for it.
I agree with it. You're absolutely correct. For example, behavioral psychology, 2 basic laws is what? All behavior is a function of the context in which it takes place. The American racial hierarchy, it's a function of the context. And then it's a function of the consequences. You follow? So in other words, behavior never stands still. Whether it's you, whether it's a child, whether it's a country, whether it's the police, behavior is always getting worse or it's always getting better. So when Zimmerman wasn't punished for Trayvon.
Right.
That automatically created a context for it to happen again.
Right.
Do you understand? Walter Scott, Tamir Rice. It creates a context. So the next police officer says, well, wait a minute. I can be a little bit more trigger happy because the last 5 black men and women, Sandra Bland, who were murdered by police, were not held accountable. So when you do nothing about misbehavior, then you're actually supporting its repeating itself.
Now, what do protests do? Because people protest and they say, you know, and I love the unity, and I love the unity of African American people. I wish we could be more unified when it's not just a brother dying. But I feel like sometimes the protest, what is it getting accomplished?
Okay.
You know? And the reason I ask that is because, you know, you protest, you shut down a highway, there's an ambulance that's trying to get somebody to a hospital, that person dies in the ambulance. You know, I'm stuck in traffic, I can't pick up my kid at 5 p.m. So what is the protest actually doing? Is it going to make the cop look at us any better? Like, what can we do besides, I think, the protest? I don't know if the protests really work.
Right. Well, first of all, we got to keep in mind that the black person is normally dead before the ambulance shows up to get him in the first place. True. So let's be clear on that. But here's the thing, Envy. Protest is the first stage of any political economic struggle.
Right.
Protest is your marketing program to let the world know what I stand for, what's happening to me, and what I want. Protest allows you to control the public narrative about your struggle. Without the protest, the world doesn't know why you're doing what you're doing. So protest is important because it is your way to put out your message.
Gotcha.
So you can't do nothing without it. The problem with black people is there's nothing after the protest.
Right.
Do you understand? The protest becomes the goal instead of the means to the end.
That's what I keep asking. What is the solution? What's the next action? Like we saw.
Well, let me tell you what has to happen now.
Okay.
Because now we're in a state of crisis for black America.
Okay.
3 things black America has failed to do, which is going to keep this carnage machine in place, this police genocide. Number 1, we have failed to publicly criticize and hold accountable the executive branch of the United States government, i.e. President Barack Obama. Despite all the killings, despite all the murders, despite an unemployment rate and a dropout rate that is greater under a black president than it was under the 2 previous Republican presidents, black people have remained silent. Obama has ignored black folk. In fact, we are the only so-called minority population in the country for which he has done nothing nor has spoken significantly for our issues. Compare us to LBGT. They got 3 laws under Obama. 3. That is unprecedented. How many laws did black people get under Obama to protect us from police genocide or even to improve the schools or to reduce incarceration?
Wow.
0. Okay, they got a Supreme Court justice. Latinos got a Supreme Court justice. LBGT got a Supreme Court justice. President Obama had the opportunity to appoint the first African-American female Supreme Court justice, and he chose not to act. It's not all his fault, though. We have created a context where the president can ignore black people and get away with it because we told the entire world when he was elected that all he had to do was just be black and we were fine. Remember?
Yeah, we didn't.
He doesn't have to do anything but be black. That is the worst thing you can say as a marginalized, oppressed group in such a racist country as this, as to tell the world that the president, the executive branch of the United States government, does not have to be accountable for you.
That's for any head of state, though. Any head of state we elect, we need to push and make sure things happen.
But Obama is the first president out of 44, the first one from George Washington up, that has not have to deal with any sort of public criticism from black people. And if he leaves office without any, here's the problem. If we let Obama leave office without any condemnation from the black community, by virtue, you cannot hold Hillary or Trump accountable for what they do not do for black people, because you have now created a precedent where a president can come in for 8 years, ignore you, even with police genocide, and not receive any criticism.
Anti-knife campaigners have urged the Metropolitan Police to use caution if they increase the use of stop and search. It comes after the Commissioner, Sir Bernard Hogan-Howe, revealed the tactic may need to be used more following a rise in stabbings. It puts Scotland Yard on a collision course with the government. Nick Beake's report does start with images some viewers may find distressing.
Cardiac arrest after being stabbed.
The devastating consequences of knife crime were captured by a team filming with the Met, which will be broadcast tonight. Officers did all they could, but there was nothing to save the teenager. A-level student Alimuddin was murdered in an argument over £90. A killing which was part of a recent rise in youth knife crime, and the Commissioner thinks boosting the number of targeted stop and searches could help tackle the problem.
It's a reasonable tactic in the right way, but I don't want to see us to return to the over 1 million stop searches, but there may be an argument for us doing more of it.
Knife crime had fallen by a third in the past few years, but in the past 12 months there were more than 1,600 stabbings of under 25s, a rise of 21%. During the same time, there were around 180,000 stop and searches, a fall of 38%.
It's one of the ways to reduce crime.
Yvonne Lawson has campaigned against knives since her son Godwin was stabbed.
You see, baby, I need to have a word with you. Need to express the feelings that I hold so true. Cause now the time has come for you and me to become a one. I know you've noticed sometimes I find it hard to say what I'm feeling, but baby,
yes,
everything is okay.
greetings.
Cause now the time has come for you and me to become
so very shortly we're going to start our program. Focus around personal development, health, education, life, choice, relationship. Big shout goes to the management every single time, fellow presenters and DJs, and also the freedom stations out there. Give thanks to our ancestors for their hard work, their commitment, their love, and that's the reason why we're here doing what we're doing right now, for those who come before us. Give thanks. And we do have a special guest who will be joining us very shortly, next 5-10 minutes. And also we do have Sister Doreen who will be joining us as well.
To make me smile, come sit down, hug me up. Let's relax for a while. In your arms is where I long to be. Feel the warmth of your body all over me. You're different from anyone I've ever known.
So I'm just playing the recording of earlier on with Uma Johnson, and to me it's a powerful recording. See? Very powerful. I'm gonna play a bit more of the great man Uma Johnson.
Really tangible reason for stopping and searching them because of colour.
In Tottenham, the word stop and search can rouse strong feelings.
Being stopped by the same people 5 times in a week, it actually hurts. They're supposed to be protecting us.
I think even little kids and certain teenagers are getting stopped innocently, and I think that is wrong.
They should stop and search because there are bad people out there that have weapons on them.
A difference of opinion on this issue isn't just confined to here in Tottenham. The Met Police Commissioner may well have said there could be more stop and searches in the fight against knife crime, but the Home Secretary, Theresa May, has made it perfectly clear that she expects the overall number to be falling and has threatened to introduce new laws if that doesn't happen.
Now that we have some statistics on this, I think we need to go back to the people of London and to ask them about this. And I think this big conversation should be done by the Mayor.
Sources at City Hall say it's too early to say if the fall in stop and search is linked to the rise in youth stabbings, but say overall knife crime is at its lowest level in 7 years. Nick Beak, BBC London News.
Me? I'm sick and tired of the excuses. I'm tired of all the people who are not doing what they're supposed to be doing, blaming the government, blaming the youths. Yes.
Yes, in the building.
That's right.
Dr. Umar Johnson.
Peace and love.
Peace
and love, fam.
You're watching The Breakfast Club.
Morning, everybody. It's DJ MV, Angela Yee, Charlamagne the God. We are The Breakfast Club. We got a special guest in the building.
That's right.
Dr. Umar Johnson.
Peace and love.
Peace.
Peace and love, family. All is well. Glad to be back.
Now let's get right to it, man. In light of everything that's going on, what are the solutions? I think we've discussed the problem so much. What are the solutions?
All right. Before I state the solution, I would have to challenge you on that. Because although we talk about the problems a lot of people don't understand how the problem operates.
Gotcha.
Let me give you an example. Take miseducation.
Okay.
People know the children aren't learning. They know black boys are not graduating. They know special ed is an issue. They know ADHD is a problem.
Leroy, you
but
ready?
They don't know how this operates. They don't understand how the child goes from the classroom into the special education system.
Okay.
So they have to be taught how it operates. You follow? So we understand that police genocide is a problem in the black community. We understand that structural inequality, disproportionality, i.e. racism, is a problem. But do we understand how racism operates? So I think that once you understand how the problem operates and manifests itself, you're now in a position to solve it. Someone comes to me for therapy. Before I do any therapy, what I do, a clinical history. Is there depression in your family? Have you been depressed before? Have you ever contemplated suicide? So I have to understand your background and how you've been living your life in order to solve your current everyday problems. So now, coming to the present, what we're seeing going on around the country. Let's be honest. Africans were brought to America to serve. We're no longer necessary for the American economic order to operate. They don't need us to function. That explains the purging. That explains the ethnic cleansing.
Even with all these Negroes making money?
Well, remember now, when you look at the black folks who are rich, they are a small percentage of the general body politic of the community. You understand? 85% of black folks are struggling. Half of our children grow up in poverty. Most of our single-parent black mothers are poor, even with a burgeoning rate of black women earning their college degrees. So simply put, black America is suffering despite the television projection of success. Yes, we are more educated than ever before. We have the bachelors, we have the masters, we have the doctorates. But that education has not taken place alongside an increase in wealth acquisition. We're smarter, but we still don't own anything.
But we know we're poor. We know some of us are not well educated. We know some of us have a lot of problems due to where we're growing up in our environment.
Yes.
But besides all of that, we got a bigger problem with racism. The way that other people look at us.
I agree.
You know what I mean? But I'm not saying it's right, but the way we look at ourselves is bad too.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Because if I'm walking down the street and I see some brothers with some hoods on, it makes me think twice.
Right.
So if it makes me think twice, I know it's going to make somebody else think twice, but it doesn't give us doesn't give them the right to put a.
But that's based off your experiences, though.
But it is based off my experience.
It's also based off conditioning. The conditioning is critical. Media is critical to the social agenda of any country. You understand? You take Adolf Hitler. Before he did what he did in Germany, he conducted a media campaign that sought to destroy the image of the European Jew in the German mind before the physical Holocaust began. Same thing in America. Before you begin taking the black life, you must kill the image of the black life. So when you look at gangster rap, which plays a hand in it, okay, when you look at the way in which we're portrayed in movies, when you look at the way in which we're portrayed on the radio, popular media, magazines, it is in a very negative way, as if to say these people, the world would be better off without these people.
That's why they release people criminal records when they kill them.
Exactly. In other words, it's not so bad that he died because he went to jail anyway. So you have to kill the image before you kill the person. Why? Because people will take up for people who are unjustly treated. But if you can convince the world that we would be better off without these people by killing their image, then when the physical carnage begins, no one will care.
How do we change that, though? How do we change the way that America looks at African Americans, and how do we change the fact that these racist individuals, racist police officers, stop pulling out the gun? See, I think you have to penalize them. Meaning, it's kind of like a kid. Your kid does something bad, and you say, okay, it's okay. He's going to continue to do it. But if you bust his ass, next time he's thinking about doing it, he's going to be like, well, you know what? My pops is going to bust my ass. I feel like the police officers that kill African Americans, just kill people in general, they don't get penalized for it.
I agree with it. You're absolutely correct. For example, behavioral psychology, 2 basic laws is what? All behavior is a function of the context in which it takes place. the American racial hierarchy. It's a function of the context. And then it's a function of the consequences. You follow? So in other words, behavior never stands still. Whether it's you, whether it's a child, whether it's a country, whether it's the police, behavior is always getting worse or it's always getting better. So when Zimmerman wasn't punished for Trayvon, that automatically created a context for it to happen again. Do you understand? Walter Scott, Tamir Rice, it creates a context. So the next police officer says, well, wait a minute, I can be a little bit more trigger happy because the last 5 black men and women, Sandra Bland, who were murdered by police, were not held accountable. So when you do nothing about misbehavior, then you're actually supporting its repeating itself.
Now, what do protests do? Because people protest and they say, you know, and I love the unity, and I love the unity of African American people. I wish we could be more unified when it's not just a brother dying. But I feel like sometimes the protest, what is it getting accomplished?
Okay.
You know? And the reason I ask that is because, you know, you protest, you shut down a highway, there's an ambulance that's trying to get somebody to a hospital, that person dies in the ambulance. You know, I'm stuck in traffic, I can't pick up my kid at 5 p.m. So what is the protest actually doing? Is it going to make the cop look at us any better? Like, what can we do besides, I think, the protest? I don't know if the protests really work.
Right. Well, first of all, we got to keep in mind that the black person is normally dead before the ambulance shows up to get him in the first place. True. So let's be clear on that. But here's the thing, Envy. Protest is the first stage of any political economic struggle. Right. Protest is your marketing program to let the world know what I stand for, what's happening to me, and what I want. Protest allows you to control the public narrative about your struggle. Without the protest, the world doesn't know why you're doing what you're doing. So protest is important because it is your way to put out your message. Gotcha. So you can't do nothing without it. The problem with black people is there's nothing after the protest. Right. Do you understand? The protest becomes the goal instead of the means to the end.
That's what I keep asking. What is the solution? What's the next action? Like we saw.
Well, let me tell you what has to happen now. Okay. Because now we're in a state of crisis for black America. Okay. 3 things black America has failed to do, which is going to keep this carnage machine in place, this police genocide. Number 1, we have failed to publicly criticize and hold accountable the executive branch of the United States government, i.e. President Barack Obama. Despite all the killings, despite all the murders, despite an unemployment rate and a dropout rate that is greater under a black president than it was under the 2 previous Republican presidents, black people have remained silent. Obama has ignored black folk. In fact, we are the only so-called minority population in the country for which he has done nothing nor has spoken significantly for our issues. Compare us to LBGT. They got 3 laws under Obama. 3. That is unprecedented. How many laws did black people get under Obama to protect us from police genocide or even to improve the schools or to reduce incarceration? Wow. 0. Okay, they got a Supreme Court justice. Latinos got a Supreme Court justice. LBGT got a Supreme Court justice. President Obama had the opportunity to appoint the first African-American female Supreme Court justice, and he chose not to act. It's not all his fault, though. We have created a context where the president can ignore black people and get away with it because we told the entire world when he was elected that all he had to do was just be black and we were fine. Remember? Yeah, he doesn't have to do anything but be black. That is the worst thing you can say as a marginalized oppressed group in such a racist country as this, as to tell the world that the president, the executive branch of the United States government, does not have to be accountable for you.
That's for any head of state, though. Any head of state we elect, we need to push and make sure things happen.
But Obama is the first president out of 44, the first one from George Washington up, that has not have to deal with any sort of public criticism from black people. And if he leaves office without any, here's the problem. If we let Obama leave office without any condemnation from the black community, by virtue, you cannot hold Hillary or Trump accountable for what they do not do for black people, because you have now created a precedent where a president can come in for 8 years, ignore you, even with police genocide, and not receive any criticism.
Why do people make excuses? You know, and I was always mad. I was upset about this because I felt like he was our president, you know, and I felt like when certain things happen, I felt like he should be on the front lines because he's dealt and seen, and I'm sure he's been pulled over before. I'm sure he's been racially profiled before. So it kind of bothers me when I see a lot of these individuals get shot and killed, and you don't really hear much from them.
Exactly.
Even to the thing with, when he flew back to go to the funerals and
Yes.
speak to the officers in Dallas, I thought that was great. But then I also thought, well, what about Baton Rouge?
Exactly.
What about Minnesota?
Exactly.
What about Ferguson?
He's not going to do that because President Obama understands something that most blacks in America do not understand. The first business of America is racism. Let's be clear about something. Most white people in America, okay, are also suffering economically, right? So if I'm white in a country based on white privilege, what is my claim to fame if I don't have a decent education, don't have a good job? For many white people in this country, their only claim to fame is the fact that I can say I exercise privilege vis-a-vis black people. Obama understands that. So America is held together by the fact that the poor white man understands that he still exercises a privilege that the rich black man does not.
And that's what Donald Trump is reminding them. Donald Trump's reminding all the poor
Donald
white
Trump
people.
changed the game, and let me tell you why. The United States power structure underestimated the impact of an unapologetically honest fool over the American electorate. Do you understand? In other words, Trump is saying to white folks what white folks feel.
Poor white folks, too.
Yes, poor white folks. So you got a rich, wealthy white man appealing to poor white folks. You've never had that. But it's working because he is unapologetic. He's ignorant. He's a fool. But he's honest. And white folk can respect and identify with a white male who's willing to be honest. In other words, Donald Trump intentionally made sure he was the polar opposite of Barack Obama. Look at Obama. You ask Obama a question, you don't get an answer. You never get a straight answer from Obama. It's always, well, we got to see. Let's see what the Americans think. Now, go back to George Bush. George Bush told you what he felt. He was another idiot, but he was honest. Trump is honest. The reason white folks are not rallying behind Hillary the way that the power structure wants them to is because Hillary is the same old thing. She's Clinton all over again. She's Obama all over again.
Correct.
She's a Bilderberg. She's politically correct.
Yeah.
Her whole message is scripted. Trump's is not.
Yeah, I'm telling people to listen to this powerful recording by Umar Johnson, because don't care what anybody want to say about him, but he gives you clarity. We come to politics, and contents in terms of what's happening, he gives you clarity. He gives clarity, and I really do rate him. I rate him, and I'm listening to him all the time now because I do listen to him, and I've tune off a little bit, listen to other things, but right now, I definitely got my way to listen to someone like Umar Johnson because one thing about him, he definitely gives you clarity. He really is a amazing individual. See? Okay, inside the house, as I said, we do have Leroy, and we're talking about whole thing about not anything about network marketing. It's not really about network marketing, but you're talking about the is it millionaire coins, the cryptocurrency and this and that.
We're talking about ways to grow your capital.
Okay then.
More importantly.
Yeah, so when it comes to them thing, them man know them thing there inside out, and also he be touching about the socks as well. And also we're touching on thing about young people as well. As you know, we have an event focused on effective parenting. So we'll be touching on that. But I'm going to play a little recording around that particular subject there.
Right now, that is again on the rise with a lot of the young people that are killing themselves. But I want to take it back to basic parenting, that is. What happened to the family dynamic? Me, I'm sick and tired of the excuses. I'm tired of all the people who are not doing what they're supposed to be doing, blaming the government, blaming the youths. Yes, we've got an epidemic right now that is again on the rise with a lot of the young people that are killing themselves. But I want to take it back to basic parenting, that is. What happened to the family dynamics? There's cuts going on right about now to youth clubs, youth centres and so forth that we had in place back in the 70s, back in the 80s and early 90s. They ain't there no more. But what's the excuse why you can't do an activity with your child? How many of the chicken shops are actually feeding your children after school? How many of you are ensuring that your children are having a breakfast? And then how many of you have made sure that your child has got a smartphone or the latest to keep up? Just on my way down to this venue right now, I witnessed a mother with 2 children that were under 10 years old. The mother was away from the children. I was observing the children on the bus because I was thinking, where is the parent? So I'm looking, the mother had on headphones and she's there on her phone or her device, whatever it was that she was on. But the point of the matter is, she wasn't anywhere near her children. And this is what is going on with society. Parents need some help to parent. I don't mind being persecuted. I don't mind standing up in front of a camera and putting myself out like this to ensure that more parents start parenting. Stop trying to be your child's friend. You are their parent. But not only when you have to go and kick off at the child's school. That's not how you support your child in education. You can support your child in education by joining the PTA, by ensuring that your child's homework is done on time, by ensuring that you're there. But these are the things, the fundamental things that we all grew with that are now being left behind. Most of the parents want to ensure that they've got a full set of nails or that their children, I'm talking about the girl children, they've got weave longer than their flipping skirts. You understand what I'm saying to you? I'm not into that. I'm thinking that until you're about 18, that's when you should be having yourself looking like a woman, because that's bait right now for men and for young men out there, because the children are not wanting to be children. I'm tired of it. If any point that what I'm saying is resonating and making you sit back from wherever you're watching this on and thinking, who is she? I'm a person in the community that cares about your children. You understand? I've only got one. Mine's doing just fine right about now. I know where he is. I know what he's doing. And do you know why? Because I made it my business to learn. I made sure that I knew who his friends were. I made sure I knew who his friends' parents were. I made sure I knew where they lived. You understand? A phone number is not enough to warrant my child going round there. Equally, there's a lot of people that are blaming the young people out here for all what's going on in the roads and the devastation that is befalling us as a nation of people. But I'm telling you, it comes back to basic parenting. How many of you parents are in the dance and when the dance finished, you're looking to go to the after party in opposed to going home and there going to look back your children? You're making the whole community have to parent your child now. This is getting beyond a joke. And at the end of the day, while God gives me health and strength, I should be out here at every opportunity trying to pull up you parents. And as I said, if it resonates with you, so be it. Come and challenge me in a way that is done with peace and love, because that's what I'm about. If you can't see that I'm about peace and love and trying to drum home a message for you guys to interact more with your children in opposed to letting society have to do the job, then you know what I mean? So be it. I don't mind being persecuted for doing something righteous. I recognize this is my calling out here. I became a family.
To make me smile, come sit down, hug me up. Let's relax for your
Roll. Some serious stuff the sister let off. You know, I know we laugh. We just said that, you know, we are rave. We leave one rave, and you know, say people now make it down this so 5-6 money. You still hungry for go to our next rave. You know what I mean? That time, you know, you have you picking them at home and so forth. And she's got a point. She has got a point. You know, you see what I'm saying? And anyway, you know what I mean? You know, I think of, but we have to look at ourselves, because I'm not going to throw stones at people who are go out and enjoy themselves and things, you know, see? But when you're out and you're a rave and you're a rave again and a rave again and them thing there, you have to leave one dance, you look at next, and then, you know, so you have a picnic them at home. You know, it can look kind of irresponsible to some extent, you know. But anyway, you know, but the point she's making that, you know, we need to take responsibility, you know, as a community. You know, not as a parent, but as a community. Okay then, Sister Gail, pick up your status every single time. Feel free to phone in when you're ready, because we're gonna bring Leroy very shortly now. I know that everybody's in a good vibes. See? Okay then, so I want to bring my brethren Leroy. He was here a few weeks ago. I think it was last year he came, sometime last year. I don't think he's been here since the beginning of this year, but I know he was here last year. In about October time he was around, you know, and he was talking about what are you talking about, Leroy? Cryptocurrency and Bitcoin. Hold on.
Yeah, you need to take that.
Oh, see this person.
Saved by the bell.
Greetings.
Greetings, hi brother Dougie, how are you doing?
Everything Christmas.
I love what that lady was saying. It's you know, she's telling people the truth, and I love what Uma Johnson was saying as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean children, children need time, parents to spend time with them, play games with them, interact with them. It's not an easy job when you've got to keep a roof over your head, but it has to be done. Or don't have children.
Yeah, definitely. But what I like about what you're saying, because as you know, we'll be talking a lot about you know, taking responsibility, and it's not about blaming anybody. Nobody's not to be blaming this thing here. You see what I'm saying? But the thing is,
everyone's doing the best they can with what they've got.
You're absolutely right.
The knowledge they've got, with the knowledge they've got, and the resources they've got, with the knowledge they've got and the understanding they've got, everyone's doing the best they can. But that doesn't mean to say that's enough.
But what I'm trying to say here is that, I mean, that you know, we spend a lot of time blaming the system and blaming this and that, blaming racism, and there's truth in it. You know, I'm not going to say that there isn't truth in that, but we still need to look within now and ask some question about ourselves. And as my brethren said one time, Kinsu, if you look in the mirror and you're not honest and not being truthful, and even Tamara, who will be here later on, always said that we need to be honest. If you're not honest with yourself, you look in the mirror, you're a fraud, you know what I mean? You're an imposter, you know what I mean? So we really have to ask some questions, because the only way we can move forward as a community, let's be honest, because nobody's not perfect, you know what I mean? As you know, there's challenges, and we're talking about the basic things we could do as a family, just the little basic things, and stuff, because don't forget the next generation is watching us, you see. So I think we have to go in-house now and do the basics,
make changes,
and make changes.
And the thing is, Dougie, when people work from patterns. I mean, I've told you this before. People work on patterns or habits. So if we get into a blame habit or a blame pattern, we never have to look at ourselves. It's so easy. I mean, how many times have you stubbed your toe and you wish you could blame it on someone else because it hurts like hell, but it's your fault because there's nobody around. You know what I'm saying? It's that kind of thing. When you get into a blame habit, you don't have to take any responsibility on yourself. It's everybody else's fault. And the thing is, people in that pattern never grow. Because instead of growing, because if we can look at ourselves, and it's hard. I remember when I was young and I had to do this, it was very hard to look at myself and say, hey man, what you were doing today was a pile of shit.
Right.
It was hard to do it, but once you get over that hurdle, then it's easy to say, actually, let's see. I mean, this is why, like in marketing, people sometimes are scared to. I said, look, I want your criticism. Tear it to pieces because I want to know what's going on. And some people do it just maliciously, but I want proper. If someone criticises you, then you know it's very easy. They've pointed out where your weaknesses are. In marketing, marketers love that because then they can make their product look better. Be better.
Well,
change.
All right then. Well, we do have someone who deal with them thing, marketing and so. You want to make a comment on that, Leroy? Your thing about marketing?
Yeah, I mean, the lady knocked it on the head. That's the whole thing about effective marketing. If you know your target audience, and you can, I think this is where people get seduced. They buy a product, they look at the packaging, and the packaging gets them to buy the product, but the product don't live up to what it's meant to be doing. And I think we're almost in that society where, especially on social media and stuff, where you want to look the part, but you're not, but it's all about showing that you are, rather than being your authentic self. So and this is the age for it, because everything is digitalized. You can transform yourself in a heartbeat and make yourself more marketable, but in the reality you're not. So yeah, that's a whole big subject on its own.
Oh yeah, there's another subject on its head. Go on.
And the point I was making as well is that once we fall into that culture, it's very hard to look at ourselves and say, well, actually, as parents, we shouldn't be interested in all that superficial stuff. We can't afford to be. We have to be getting down to the real nitty-gritty with our children. Because if we live in that false reality, then we'd be expecting our children to be a certain way, and when they're not that way, without us putting in the work. Just like we can put on, I don't know, fake. I could never deal with fake nails because they break because I have to do too much work. But when we put on the fake nails and the fake eyelashes, which I don't use either. But when we put on these fronts or the fake or the trainers, whatever, or the flash car, we can hide behind it like that. We can, and we don't have to do the real work. And like that with parenting, we can. If we live this false reality, we will not know, and we're not real within ourselves. How can we give to our children and train our children to be different when we don't know how to be different ourselves? So parenting is the best self-development course we could ever go on. It's the course of life.
Well, yeah. Well, you see, it's a start. It's definitely a start. And like I said, it's just a question of really look at the basics. Things like identity, culture, family values.
I think deeper than that, Dougie, deeper than that. Before identity and culture, the human spirit is greater and beyond all of that. We have to deal with the human spirit. We have to feed the human spirit first. And then all those other things can come into it.
Well,
if we do the identity and culture without doing the deeper things, that's a bit like the fake nails and the fake hair.
Well, you see, but we got to start from somewhere still.
We start with the spirit.
Yeah, we start. Hold on. What's the spirit? What spirit you're talking about now?
Pardon?
What spirit?
The human spirit.
What's the human spirit? What's the human spirit?
The human spirit is the person within. Who works from love, the common denominator between all humans, the common denominator between all.
All right. You see where we're going with this now, and most people have a different kind of spin on that. Cause spirit means to me, well, I understand spirit. It means the breath.
I'm talking about the inner person.
Inner person. All right. So well, that's another deep that's another reasoning still, and yeah, you're on track. But when I talk about identity, I'm talking about understand yourself. You are as an African, right? And then once you understand yourself as an African, right, then you have a purpose and direction. I understand the whole thing about the human spirit and as a human being, what is true. See, can I
make a point?
Hold on, my sister. Because Kintu brings some serious reason on the table. The whole thing about the human being, right? And then with you talking about life and so forth. And I agree, but at the moment, no, we have to deal with what we can deal with and move and work with that. See.
Can I just make a suggestion? The thing is, right, like I was talking about marketing before, the powers that be put out propaganda, like with the Nazis. They put out propaganda about the Jews. They put out propaganda about different people to make themselves feel bad and make other people feel bad. So if we define ourselves in such defined terms only, and not as part of the greater reality.
Yeah, but all right then. But you see, the chance I have. No, but yeah. Well, can we have Leroy and I want to interview with Leroy still? But you see, the thing is this, right? Right. If we look at other race of people, right? You look at the Jews, the Chinese, the Asians. They identify themselves. For example, the Chinese. That's why we see this Chinese boy upon his plant here, right? You know he's a Chinese, right? He identifies him as a Chinese, and he's a Chinese, and therefore he'll have a purpose and direction. Same with the Asian people. Them. That's why we see him upon his plant here. You know, in the Caribbean or street. You know he's an Asian. See, so, and he have a purpose and direction. We don't identify ourselves as a race of people. See. And unless we identify ourselves, right?
Well, the Windrush lot did, and I have to say,
no, the Windrush didn't identify. No. The Windrush call themselves a Carib. All right, then go on.
As a person of mixed race, I see myself as a person of the world.
So what? You see yourself as
a person of the world, and I, as far as I'm concerned, I can go and walk with anybody, and I will get in there. And I will try and understand them, and I will try and work out what makes them tick, and I'll take the best out of it for myself.
But you see, you're talking about as an individual, no, innit? As an individual.
I'm talking as an individual. What I'm trying to say is if your child wants to be, I don't know, a ballet dancer or something that's not part of the culture, then the danger is that they could be limited by thinking that's not for me.
All right then, but you see, let me just run this point very quickly, right? But you see, the thing is this: if we're going to be effective, it's the foundation we're looking here, you know.
Yeah, sure.
If we're going to, if we're going to be effective, right, we have to look at the whole thing about identity, right? We have to look at the thing about identity. Look at the roots and look at identity.
But real identity, not fake identity.
Yes, I'm trying to say. Yeah. Good. Yeah, but you're talking about the human spirit and that stuff there. I'm in agreement with that, but I don't know if many people can understand that. You see what I'm saying? In terms of being effective. But anyway, let's put the pin in it. Feel free to phone back. Because I'm going to roll with my brethren here now. Right?
Sure.
So feel free to phone back. Let me roll and then you can come back in. Yeah?
It's fine. Can I just finish on one point? One point I want to make.
Yeah, what? You know?
Culture is man-made, spirit is God-made, and God's spirit...
No. You see, we're going to disagree, but culture... Hold on. Culture is a way of life, you know.
Culture is man-made. Of course it is, but it should be a natural way of life.
How can it be man? It's a way of life. Culture is a way of life.
But it should be naturally derived culture is fantastic. Contrived culture where people are forced to, I don't know.
No. Culture is a way of life. Culture is a way of life. Your speaking, your food, you know, everything. Religion. This way
There's nothing wrong with that.
No. But culture is a way of life. Culture is just your being.
Absolutely.
Yes, your being.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But it should be it should be natural, as opposed to contrived. I can't do this because of that. I can do this because of that. That's all I'm saying.
All right. Let come back. We'll come back with the bones now. Yeah, with my brother Leroy. Yeah. All right. All right. No problem.
Bye.
All right. No problem. All right then. Give thanks for the reasoning. All right then. So the sister. Bones with us. All right then. So Leroy, what we want to do now? We want to go into your personal business right now because
not too personal, man.
Because I know you're a man deal with all thing with I know you do the stocks and the bitcoins and so forth. But give a little background about yourself and the kind of work you do right now.
Yeah, sure. So thanks for having me on, and we have a very good debate just there. You know. There's a lot of insight to what the lady was sharing, and what you've been playing, Dr. Uma, and was really in tune and really key. And I think myself being somebody who's always kind of looked at how I can make a positive impact in the people that I'm working with, seeing positive identity for youths, for people growing up, and giving them an option out of the regular things that may have been pushed their way. So my whole background has been, for the number of years now, over 20 odd years, is quite unconventional in terms of making a living for myself. Okay, because I came into learning about network marketing, that whole industry of being really in tune with what you and your goals and your purpose is all about. And so I've been very goal driven from a very young age, and over the years, whereas the dream of having this car and all that kind of stuff, you get that, and you get that desire, but then you realize there's way more to this than that, and so it's all really about making that, like I said, making that impact. Somebody and there's been a lot of teachers along the years, from the Les Browns of this world, and people of that ilk who have really shared some amazing things that has grown me as a person. And so my background, when I was in the corporate world, I was working in the city, doing my thing, wanting to progress in the world of IT. I was very fortunate to work at some of the most prestigious investment banks out there, and I was just talking to somebody the other day. I wish I took more note of some of the places they sent me. They sent me all around the world. I was in especially all over Europe, and then had a chance to go to New York and things like that. And I've really found myself at an early age being exposed to a lot of these lifestyles, I would call it, staying at luxurious places, and it really opened up my eyes that I really never took on the fact that I'm a young black man. I couldn't achieve and I couldn't aspire to whatever level that is out there. I never just saw that there was any limitations, even though I knew those things exist. I did not want that to be in my psyche, right? For me to then start to unconsciously have a limit upon myself, or as to where I am, and maybe I shouldn't be doing this because of whatever. I didn't go to university as such. I went to college and just did enough so that I can start earning money. I really wanted to get out there and earn money, and then I got exposed to this whole industry of network marketing, and that just blew me away, because then I realized, wow, I could really achieve these things without having to do a 9 to 5.
Right. Let me just jump in. What was the first network marketing you got involved with?
Oh man, that was the big A, man, Amway.
Knows that most people got involved with Amway.
I tell you what, man. That was in the 90s. I got involved in that, and just shows you how long, my goodness, I've been involved in this industry. And that was like, for me,
that was the first network marketing. Yeah, and Amway
right.
First, in the early days. Yeah.
Yeah, man, that was an education and a half. That was seriously an education. I never had such exposure to personal development as I did there. Came across the likes of Jim Rohn and Tony Robbins, and
you met Jim Rohn through.
I never met him, but tons of information. And it's only when I got older I really appreciated some of his principles, what he would say, what his philosophy on life, and it really's gone 360. Like I totally relate to pretty much everything he says, because these are timeless principles. These are biblical, principles you'll find in the Bible
and stuff,
and and so they resonate, and they stay with you. They stay with you, and a lot of things there was amazing. So that what really kept me in this industry, was that whole education piece. And from there, it's just been I've been on and off with my journey. looking at some companies, and now obviously looking at the year 2020, we're in a digital world. So this whole digital currency, that plays a major role in what I do these days. But yeah, it was that whole progression of going from, just doing everything that you kind of been told to do. You can go out, get a good job and all that kind of stuff, and then it's like being exposed to people who have created a lifestyle that you may be wanting to resonate with and do things that you're like, wow, this is the direction I want to go to. I never got exposed to this information before, and a lot of people don't necessarily get exposed to this information, so they only know what they know. But then when you get around a different set of people, have a different mindset, then you as a result of that, you start to take that on, and that's what I took on.
Right. And it's quite interesting because I remember, I think I might know you through the Yes Group, in that kind of field and arena as well. Great. And them time there was very much full on with the still now, but full on the personal development. Right. In fact, I was kind of someone got me just throw me in there, said, "Go in that kind of arena, so to speak." Right. You know what I mean? I just find myself. You know what I mean? And it's true. Be honest with you. Again, I went to Les Brown seminar in America. And I think a week after, I must have went to Anthony Robbins. Right. Wow. You know what I mean? So, and imagine, kind of very green, very, very green. You know what I mean? Yeah. So my belief system went right through the roof. You know what I mean? I really got a buzz from that. Yeah. And obviously being involved in the Yes Group and that stuff there.
Yeah, that was a good group.
Yeah, the good group. And tell me something, are they still existing? Still functioning?
Yeah. Wednesdays. Yes, every Wednesday.
Last Wednesday or something?
I think it's something like that, yeah. Of the month, they have their
where they keep it, Central London?
It's still in Central London, yeah. I used to get a lot more emails and stuff. I don't seem to, but I saw something recently about the Yes Group doing something. So I still believe, actually my friend of mine, she was saying that she's going to be going at the Yes Group on the Wednesday. So still going strong.
I need to go there and see what
I do need to go down there.
See what they're saying.
we have to go down there, man.
Yeah, see what they're saying,
Yeah.
So let's be up to speed now. What you're doing now? Because what was he doing now then?
Yeah. So for me, the last several years, got exposed to really digital currency, cryptocurrency, and for the past since about 2015, 2016. Really more in 2016, I started to actually get involved with what that is. And for those people who may not know what that's about, it's basically just digitized money, virtual money, that actually has a intrinsic value. And so some of the companies I've been exposed with and worked with, some of them have got some amazing projects. I mean, you're talking about really well thought out, designed ways to solve solutions around the problems we have. Like, you want to send money to another country, okay, and people want to send money. I was speaking to some guy the other day. He wants to send me some money where he's out in Ghana, and it was not a straightforward thing for him to do. And so the great thing what we have with digital currency is that, look, I can send him some cryptocurrency in a couple of minutes, without crazy fees, without crazy wait times, without him having to go somewhere to pick up the money. It can go directly to his actual phone. And this is another thing where, we're talking about a lot of people who don't have a bank account, and they call them the unbanked, where there's, millions of people that don't have a bank account, don't have a way to access funds like, we regularly would. And what we're regularly exposed to. So, it does change. It's a game changer in that regard, and it will be a currency that will be more mainstream. A lot of the banks, a lot of the.
So let me just ask you. So, because you know, because I'm not up to speed. But we talk about currency, right?
Yeah.
We call cryptocurrency, right? What is it? Is that a coin? What is it? I'm not too sure.
Yeah, I mean, basically, for people to have some kind of understanding of what it looks like and stuff like that, there is, you know, a design of a coin of what it would look like.
Yeah.
But it's virtualized, so it's all online, and you know, there's different types of ways to access it. Normally through a wallet of some sort.
Okay.
And some companies now, they actually have a way which you can access that in a normal fashion with a debit card, or you send it to your bank. I mean, it's you know, it's not like it may have been at the early onset, but this is like, you know, over like a 10-year or so industry. You know, it started when we really had that subprime crash, what they call the credit crunch era, you know, 2008, and we had Bitcoin formed around that time. And so Bitcoin is evolved into many different other coins, and there's other coins that have come out since that have done a better job that Bitcoin can do because of the nature of it. But it's still all of these coins have their place, and they will have more. Every year they'll have more of a place in our society.
So if you get like a coin, and can you cash it for? Can you exchange for cash as it were? Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, the thing is, when I got involved with Bitcoin back in when I really started to buy Bitcoin was in 2016, and around that time, one Bitcoin was about 500 quid. All right, and well, actually less than that. It was actually less than 500 quid. I know people that got into it when it was about $50. So
$50, yeah.
$50. So yeah, what about that? 30 odd quid. And now, you know, the nature of Bitcoin as one of the coins. There are thousands of coins. Yeah, there's over 2,000 coins you can select and choose, and there's different criteria as to why you might want to buy them. But as a coin, as an asset to buy, has been one of the most profitable things one could have bought. And every 4 years they have what we call halving, a Bitcoin halving taking place. And when the last halving took place, we saw Bitcoin rally massively. So a lot of people and this year 2020, a lot of people are looking forward to being able to, you know, benefit from the move that's going to happen, that's likely to happen. And yeah, we've seen it hit 20,000, close to 20,000, and some people thought, well, it's gonna, you know, it's worthless. It went down to about 3,000. It's now hovering around 10,000. But for those people that understand this is a long-term play and not a just let's get rich overnight kind of play, they understand why and certain things that happen when they happen. But yeah, I think it's I think everybody should get involved, especially at this stage. I mean, it's going to be a point where it's going to be hard. I believe it's going to be much more harder. Where right now it's an unregulated market. The jury's out. Some love it, some hate it, some think it's just a piece of nonsense. But those of us who know where this is going or have a great idea where this is going, we love it. And
but just to I just want to jump in there and the reason why, because I was in this internet cafe and I should have really asked the guy, you know, right? For some reason I should have asked him, but I was in the internet cafe and they had a machine.
I was just gonna say.
And I'm saying
we was at a machine just today, about 2 hours ago.
Yeah, and I said to myself, weird. And then the guy I know him quite well, but he's quite busy in there and stuff, right? Right. And I'm saying to myself, that's twice. I can't win. I said to myself, yeah, I was going to ask him, you know?
Yeah.
You know, I can answer some information, but Chew was busy. I had to rush off.
Right.
And I went back the other day, right? And obviously I want to give the guy the money. I know it's the machine again.
Right.
But because he's busy, I couldn't really speak with him because, you know, he's busy and thing. But I'm going to make my duty to go in there and find out.
Well, this is one of the reasons why I was even a bit late getting to you, because we were at a Bitcoin machine earlier doing a transaction, and we were waiting for it to be confirmed. But yeah, it came through, all good. So people can actually go to these machines and actually put cash in and exchange it for Bitcoin, and vice versa. They can sell their Bitcoin and have cash. Yeah, so you know, it's we've come a long way, and there's more and more machines out there all over the globe. And some countries are way ahead of us, and some countries are way behind us. But you know, it's something that, you know, all of these big major institutions that you know, have a stake in. They have interest in it. They have money in it. You know, so that wouldn't happen if there was just some kind of fad. If it wasn't there was no real value, or if it was just something that, you know, only people who are geeks do. They may want to paint that picture. Media might want to paint that picture, but you know, anytime they try and dissuade you from doing something, there's a reason why.
Okay then. And you've been it for the last about few years?
Yeah, since about 20. I would say properly from 2016.
So about four years.
Coming into 4 years. And so so I'm really excited about the future, where things are going in this space. You know, I'm working with a company that actually helps people grow their Bitcoin in a very positive way.
Okay then.
And so we're going to be having a big event here in London. In fact, there's events taking place all over Canada and over Asia, Malaysia and stuff. We're going to be doing an event over here next month.
Okay then. Where's that going to be?
That's going to be I'll come back to you and confirm the actual venue and stuff. But it's gonna be in Shoreditch.
Oh, Shoreditch. Oh, it's not too far.
No, we're gonna be in London. You know, in the heart of everything.
So it's focused around the Bitcoin and
etc. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
So all the details, we're just finalizing all the details for it to come out, and then we're gonna share that.
All right, then. I wanted to talk a little bit about the socks.
Okay, sure. Yeah. So in terms of technology, as you know, my background's technology. And so these socks kind of fit in with that in that space. I think it's very advanced tech. It's neurotech technology, where basically it makes a neuro connection when you wear these socks. Now, I've because of how busy I've been with my kind of crypto space, I've not been as involved with that. But man alive, the testimonials we've seen,
I hear that they're quite
they
powerful.
are absolutely staggering.
Tamara, you bought one as well, didn't it? The socks, yeah?
Yes, I did buy one, yeah. Right.
You got one from this brother who phoned in the other day.
Right.
Okay.
Excellent. So you know, those socks, I mean, if you ever get a chance to really evaluate this stuff, you'll realize it's not just your regular pair of socks. You know, it's just a very clever way of people getting access to the tech, because the tech makes that connection.
Right.
And there's different ways in which you can receive it. You can receive it via, you know, they have patches, they have insoles, they have different technology which they're working on, so that people that don't, you know, wear socks, you know, if you're in a hot island and stuff like that, you're not necessarily going to wear socks with your sandals, right? So there's different ways in which you can receive it, but it's quite amazing what the results are through people being on this, and especially being on it for a prolonged period of time. They've done these mind maps that show what the brain's doing.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
All right then. What I'm gonna do, we're gonna have a very short break in a second, right? Because I want to focus a lot of stuff around with young people, in terms of get your perspective in terms of getting young people involved with the Bitcoin and the health. And when we do have Sister Doreen inside the house, and also we do have Tamara inside the house as well. In fact, both of them will be in the next event we're having on the 28th of February. You won't be around them time, will you? You'll be away?
I think I'll be away, yeah.
You'll probably be away in Canada and so forth.
Yeah.
All right then, let me just play something. like to give out some information where people can contact you as well, Leroy.
Sure.
In fact, do that right now, Lee, if you don't mind. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So, I mean, obviously, you can reach me on the on Instagram, on Facebook, Leroy E. Lawson. It's LeroyELawson. So you can hit me up on that, and that's probably the best way, easiest way to connect with me, and anything that you need to know from there. Also got a number that follows me wherever I go, which you can connect with. That's 07092 025 564. That's 07092 025 564. So you can reach me that way as well.
Okay then.
Cool.
Light up every time you are around, 'cause now the time has come for you and me to become a one. Yeah, now the time has come for you and me to become a one. Sunshine in my heart, and you took away the pain. See, I'm ready for all that you wanna give. I've got you in my soul, and with you I wanna live. 'Cause now the time has come for you and me to become a one. Yeah, now the time has come for you and me to become a one. 'Cause now the time has come for you and me to become a one. Yeah, now the time has come for you and me to become a woman. 'Cause you have the ability to make me smile. Come sit down, hug me up. Let's relax for a while. In your arms is where I long to be. Feel the warmth of your body all over me. You're different from anyone I've ever known. My eyes light up every time you are around. See, I'm ready for all that you wanna give. I've got you in my soul, and with you I wanna live. 'Cause now the time has come for you and me to become a one. Yeah, now the time has come for you and me to become a one. My warrior defender. See, he's a man, a real man in all his splendor. I'm his queen, he's my king, my warrior defender. You move me on a level beyond the physical. See, what we have transcends any boundaries. It's spiritual. You give me that giddy first love feeling. Just to touch or kiss you leaves me reeling. So pull me in and give me more. In you I was sent more than what I prayed for. A man so wise, so loving, so true. Melt those together and emerging will be you. See, he's a man, a real man in all his splendor. I'm his queen, he's my king, my warrior defender. See, he's a man, a real man in all his splendor. I'm his queen, he's my king, my warrior defender.
government, blaming the youths. Yes, we've got an epidemic right now that is again on the rise with a lot of the young people that are killing themselves. But I want to take it back to basic parenting, that is. What happened to the family dynamics? There's cuts going on right about now to youth clubs, youth centres and so forth that we had in place back in the 70s, back in the 80s and early 90s. They ain't there no more. But what's the excuse why you can't do an activity with your child? How many of the chicken shops are actually feeding your children after school? How many of you are ensuring that your children are having a breakfast? And then how many of you have made sure that your child has got a smartphone or the latest to keep up? Just on my way down to this venue right now, I witnessed a mother with 2 children that were under 10 years old. The mother was away from the children. I was observing the children on the bus because I was thinking, where is the parent? So I'm looking, the mother had on headphones and she's there on her phone or her device, whatever it was that she was on. But the point of the matter is, she wasn't anywhere near her children. And this is what is going on with society. Parents need some help to parent. I don't mind being persecuted. I don't mind standing up in front of a camera and putting myself out like this to ensure that more parents start parenting. Stop trying to be your child's friend. You are their parent. But not only when you have to go and kick off at the child's school. That's not how you support your child in education. You can support your child in education by joining the PTA, by ensuring that your child's homework is done on time, by ensuring that you're there. But these are the things, the fundamental things that we all grew with that are now being left behind. Most of the parents want to ensure that they've got a full set of nails or that their children, I'm talking about the girl children, they've got weave longer than their flipping skirts. You understand what I'm saying to you? I'm not into that. I'm thinking that until you're about 18, that's when you should be having yourself looking like a woman. Because that's bait right now for men and for young men out there. Because the children are not wanting to be children. I'm tired of it. If any point that what I'm saying is resonating and making you sit back from wherever you're watching this on and thinking, who is she? I'm a person in the community that cares about your children. You understand? I've only got one. Mine's doing just fine right about now. I know where he is. I know what he's doing. And do you know why? Because I made it my business to learn. I made sure that I knew who his friends were. I made sure I knew who his friends' parents were. I made sure I knew where they lived. You understand? A phone number is not enough to warrant my child going round there. Equally, there's a lot of people that are blaming the young people out here for all what's going on in the roads and the devastation that is befalling us as a nation of people. But I'm telling you, it comes back to basic parenting. How many of you parents are in the dance and when the dance finished, you're looking to go to the after party in opposed to going home and there going and look back your children? You're making the whole community have to parent your child now. This is getting beyond a joke. And at the end of the day, while God gives me health and strength, I should be out here at every opportunity trying to pull up you parents. And as I said, if it resonates with you, so be it. Come and challenge me in a way that is done with peace and love, because that's what I'm about. If you can't see that I'm about peace and love and trying to drum home a message for you guys to interact more with your children in opposed to letting society have to do the job, then...
Blessed love.
Tamara, you on?
Yes. Blessed love. Tamara Gabriel. Is it coming true?
Yes, thank you. Just speaking. Go to Tim, speak.
Blessed love. Yeah, love, light, and healing to all the beautiful brothers and sisters out there, all the good people, and bad people too. Because everybody's got some good in them, and it's the good we are deal with. Let go of the bad and deal with the good. And I'm Tamara Gabriel, and this poem is entitled The Great Master, Jesus Christus, the Great Master, came here on earth to avert us from disaster by demonstrating that the only way is love, to live and let live, and be willing to forgive. Thank you, Jesus Christus, for giving us a reprieve. By the grace of our Creator, I do believe. Blessed love.
Okay then. Give thanks, Tamara. Like you got the mic now, Tamara. You know, we're playing that clip there, and to me, that clip is very powerful. You know, cause I've watched it. I remember watching it on YouTube, on the soapbox. What Paul's put together of all different interviews he's done with, especially focused around young people, and that just touched me. You know what I mean? Just straight to the point. You know, and it's something. You know, we're doing a lot of stuff around effective parenting, and it's about us taking responsibility. And she's just saying things what most, not I'm saying, but most people are saying as well. So I just want to get your perspective on that, Tamara.
Yes, the sister is spot on. Everything she says is true. She's very honest, and I'm sure a lot of parents out there might feel a bit insulted by what she's saying, because the truth hurts. But it's not a sin. The truth, that hurt from the truth is what gets us well. We go through the pain of the truth, and we admit it, and this is how we take responsibility and get well again. Like myself, I had to admit that I had abandoned my children for some years, and until I did so, I couldn't get to ask for forgiveness, or forgive myself, or ask them for forgiveness. And the moment came when I went through the pain and admitted I'd been very irresponsible and stopped making excuses, blaming their mothers and blaming this and blaming that. You know, I became a man who was living in the solution instead of the problem, and became free from that prison of pain by confessing my shortcomings and my defects of character, and so forth. I asked for forgiveness to my children, all my children, boys and girls, and they all forgave me. But all I know is that forgiveness is something that takes time. It takes years to really manifest itself, you know, but we start with that willingness and readiness to forgive. But furthermore, as the sister was saying, you know, us parents, we have to join things like the PTA. It no longer applies to me, but I've got grandchildren, so I'm going to ask my daughter if she's joined the PTA. And I know she's not short of communicating with her children, but as that lady said, too much emphasis is paid on how we look these days, how mothers look and so on, even dads too, for that matter of fact, rather than how you feel, you know, and how did the children feel. You know, too many people are obsessed with putting their children in designer clothes instead of knowing how well they're doing in school. You know, this sort of attitude has got to change. It all begins at home. We can't blame the teachers. Like she said, we've got to stop blaming the parents and the teachers. Yes, we know the teachers spend a great amount of time with them, but the teachers aren't their parents. Parents have a responsibility, you know, and also the teachers have 30-odd children in the class, you know, where so the parents, you know, have no excuses. No one has got 30 children to look after. It's very difficult, I must say, to keep your eye on 30-odd children in a classroom. But all the same, the teachers do have a role to play when communicating with the parents. And of course, the hostility that she said that some parents express towards the teachers is horrendous. And we all seem to be talking about the women. And, you know, so when you talk about the parents, no one's mentioning the fathers, you know, and that is a damn shame. Where are the fathers? It's time we stood up, you know, come out of the darkness into the light and take responsibility. Support the mothers. Put the hatchet down. Put the resentments away and the anger away, because the anger blocks us from the solution and keeps us in the problem, entrenched in the problem. Get rid of the anger and resentment. Make peace. Ask for forgiveness. You know, talk of reconciliation instead of division, you know, and so on. This is the way forward, brothers and sisters, my lords and ladies, kings and queens, princes and princesses. Wake up, please. Let's get this thing together. Let's get our community healed. Let the healing process begin, and it begins with us, not with the government.
Yeah, man.
Not with the teachers in school either, with us at home.
Give
And
thanks.
each man and woman, we are all parents. So let us parent our community with the village mentality, looking out for each other. Blessed love.
Blessing love. Okay, I want to bring Leroy into the mix. Yes. You right there, Leroy?
Yeah, let me get on. No problem. Yeah, there was something I posted. Sounds really loud. Yeah, there's something I posted the other day, and I wanted to read that out. This is, as you know, I spend a lot of time in business and things like that, and you know, just listening to what the lady's saying on that. What's the lady's name?
I'm not too. I think her name is Nicola. Or no, I'm not too sure her name is. To be honest with you,
Right.
Her name comes up on the on the YouTube thing,
Right,
but I'm not
right.
100% sure.
Okay, cool. Yeah, because you know what she touched on there is it's so poignant, and there's so many different factors why there's a lot of breakdown in us families. You know, the whole thing is like we've almost lost the basics of that whole community spirit, you know, and whereas, you know, when I was growing up, obviously, and lots, you know, people obviously older than me, it's almost like it's a world that is so different that we can't even fathom the things that we are seeing now just wouldn't have happened. And so there's really been that whole breakdown in a lot of different ways around society, and just that whole care for the fellow person, you know, and that's many reasons for that, especially like in a city like London, where it's almost like everybody's doing their own thing, and everybody's trying to survive in their own way, rather than that whole community thing. But there was this thing I posted, and I think even though it's to do with on a kind of business tip, it really embodies what I love to see exist. And you may have heard it before. It's Ubuntu, and Ubuntu is a very rare and a very nice story from Africa. The motivation behind Ubuntu culture in Africa, and as Fabritis proposed a game to the African tribal children. And what he did, he placed a basket of sweets near a tree and made the children stand 100 meters away, then announced that whoever reaches there first would get all the sweets in the basket. When he said ready, steady, go, do you know what these children did? They all held each other's hand, ran together towards the tree, divided the sweets equally among themselves, and ate the sweets and enjoyed it. When the anthropologists asked why they did that, they answered Ubuntu, which means how can one be happy when the others are sad? So Ubuntu in their language means I am because we are. A strong message for all generations. And you know, it basically goes on to say, let all of us always have this attitude and spread happiness wherever we go. Let's have an Ubuntu life, because I am because we are. And I think that really kind of spoke to me, because of the fact that if we are dividing out or having this whole I want to be better than you and I want to have what you can't have, rather than how can we all together have what we know we can have by that community, by acting as one. You know, unity is strength, and stuff like that. And so, you know, when we talk about the knife crime or the breakdown in schools and children being excluded and stuff, there's so many different reasons why that's happening. And we know we are, as a community, are always under attack. But it's getting back to those raw basics, like, you know, growing up, if you saw another a black person you never knew before, you would always like, acknowledge them. You know, it was just like an inbuilt thing, and it wouldn't be like, you know, why are you staring at me? It'll be like, yeah, and you know, it's like, yeah, we are in this. You know, we kind of, it's like almost an inbuilt thing, and it's just like when I'm reading that, it just. And this can be embodied in any area that you're in and any society, but it's like touching on those things where we are living in a very kind of superficial world. You know, people want to look good, and you know the pressures of social media and having likes and followers and all this kind of stuff, and it's like getting away like this thing where people take it to such an extent where they end up in mental issues, mental health issues. All right, and it's big. It's just it's a really big area, and so there's so much there that she touched on. We can unpack that all night, but it really comes, you know, for me, and I haven't got no children myself, so when I look and I observe, you know, my aunties and stuff like that who have children, and just seeing how I'd like to see them grow and how they look out for each other. This is something that I see lacking a lot, where growing up we will always have that, you know, we would have that, almost take it for granted that we would always like look after each other. There wouldn't be like no, you know, what we hear about this postcode rivalry and stuff like that. That wouldn't even like
come to our psyche.
That wouldn't even make any sense.
Yeah,
like,
it wouldn't make any
still
sense.
doesn't make any sense. But you understand why there's divisions and why this thing has been inbred, because of when you start to scratch below the surface, you realize that the things that are being ignored, and I believe what's happening out there is being ignored because it's not important enough for the people in and again, it's not down to them to bring our children up, okay? But it's not a priority for them, and so we have to take that onus on ourselves. And I don't know if you played it on an advert where talking about building schools together, and you know, something that I think it might be in an advert where somebody was talking about building that, and I was always thinking for years, why it was like blew me away. Why can we not have our own, like if we want to go out and we like go into different establishments and we're spending our money in those establishments, but we don't own it. We don't own it. We are the biggest consumers, and this is another area that, again, we could spend all night talking about, but there's so many things that we've got so much power, we just don't even realize. We are more powerful than we truly realize. And if we had that spirit, that Ubuntu spirit, that, you know, and I'm not saying it doesn't exist, because it does exist, but it may not exist in a way that, you know, is visible everywhere.
So, Ubuntu means?
Well, in that, it was basically about that whole spirit, about how can I be happy knowing that my brother is not
happy. Okay.
It's like having that, you know, looking at my brother.
Well, that story is quite powerful, you know. We shared me.
Extremely powerful.
Very powerful. Yeah,
extremely powerful. So,
okay then. Yeah. Okay then. I want to bring Sister Doreen into the mix, and before Doreen come in, Doreen's a very powerful sister. In fact, last week was playing. She done a clip, and if we can, we'll bring it up a little bit later on, where she was talking at Chestnut Community Centre, and she was very powerful, giving an overview. Me and I had a conversation yesterday, and what she have in mind, some kind of revolutionary kind of move she did on still, you know what I mean? You know, it's going to frighten the whole establishment and thing. I mean, I talk about revolution where I got beat up people and shoot up things, but revolution where we take certain kind of action, you know. And we probably might share that a little bit later on, because what she's saying is she's on point. And the reason why, because, right, we have to be taken seriously, right? We have to be taken seriously, right? And one thing she's saying is that, I mean, if the teachers or the system are not taking us seriously, if we say that we're going to have a day of action, a day of personal development action, we'll take our kids out of the school for that one day, right? Bring them to a center, empower them, and explain to them why we're taking them out for that day out, right? Where parents and teachers, right, come together, right, and empower them and explain to them, not explain to them why, but it's a day of empowerment. See? And there's two reasons why behind that. A, when we know so we're serious and we can take responsibility, ownership in terms of empowering them at that day there. See? Because enough is enough. You know? Enough is enough. See? And the thing is that somebody said to me many years that you can pay a teacher to teach, but you can't necessarily pay a teacher to care. So it's two different things we're talking about here. You know what I mean? Right? And as Tamara said that, I mean, they're just human being teachers. They got wood picking in the classroom, and at the end of the day, them just fill up this one go and sit down, keep themselves quiet. You know what I mean? You know, where someone who really care, right, will spend time, and you see what most students want, the youth them want really end of the day, right? You know, it's not about it's about love and care. That's all they want to do, to be sure that they feel safe. You know, that's all it is. You know, and once you can ensure that you will have them, you know, academic thing, you know, they can gravitate towards that. I mean, that, you know, but I mean, and then it's just love and care. But anyway, we don't have time to really go to Doreen's business right now because we'll be here for about half an hour discussion. So Doreen, how you feeling?
Great, thank you.
Yeah. Okay then. So Doreen, I want you can give us a little spin in your thing about the educational system, or what do you think is the way forward? You know.
Well, there's a number of things that we need to do as a community anyway. But one of the things, ways forward is that the other speakers were talking about just coming, you know, when couples basically procreate and they, you know, they have a child, it's about just remembering that, you know, that child is an innocent. So even if that relationship breaks down, you know, you still got parenting to do. So even if you don't like each other anymore, you should still be coming together when it comes to parenting your child. You know, it's not, you know, and in a lot of cases, because I've seen it many times in relationships where, you know, parents use their children as pawns. One may, you know, prevent the other one from seeing that child, you know, just to spite the other person, and basically to the detriment of that child because they didn't ask to come into the world. You know, they're just the product of your, even if it was a temporary union, your union, you know, and really it's a big responsibility to parent. But it, you know, just because your relationship break down, it doesn't mean that you're no longer that child's parent.
Absolutely. And it's quite interesting because that is the main core of most of this stuff here. Because, and what they say is that if you look at those who are involved in gangs and you know, if you look at their background, there's no father figure there, right? You know, she's not there at all. Doesn't exist. You know, so that unit is just totally gone away, and obviously, result of that, you're gonna have certain individuals get involved in gangs and etc. And what it comes down to at the end of the day is the family unit, that structure, that family unit. What to me is very, very important. That's what Tamara was bringing to the table. And you know what it comes down to is that, you know, relationships to me is the foundation, because then things can go pear-shaped for every reason. You know, you won't be the first, you definitely won't be the last when you think about it, you know what I mean? But at the same time, you have a responsibility for that child, you know what I mean? This is where you have to be mature now, and sometimes you have to take things upon the chin sometimes, you know, because something can get a bit messy and thing, but put that one side and push out the ego and that stuff there. But you know, you got a responsibility. Tamara, you want to come in there, Tamara? Or Leroy? Anybody want to come in?
Yes, brother. Yes, brothers and sisters. Yes.
Is the mic on? Yeah, your mic on it, Luke.
Yes, and taking responsibility means being honest. You know, because without honesty, you know, there's no solution. We're still living in the problem. You know, taking responsibility without love means that we've still got the problem. We're not living in the solution. So responsibility comes with honesty. It comes with love. It comes with care. It comes with humility. You know, these are the qualities we need to, you know, edge the ego out and let God in, let the power of love in, let the power of light in. You know, because we've been living in the dark for far too long. In a world of denial for too long. You know, a world of dishonesty for too long. And irresponsibility. Sisters and brothers.
But let me jump in there, because what the sister was bringing to the table, that I'm most very aware of, that the relationship side of stuff, and when that fall apart, you probably find that, and obviously there's issue, some serious issue where the man don't want nothing to do with the mother and the picnic them and so forth, and sometimes the mother was used the child as a pawn. That's right. That's the right word. And it just gets messy. But all of that, the person's really caught up in this thing. Is the youth. I use the word youth in context of what we're talking about. See, so what I'm saying, that I mean, we need to be aware of what's happening. You know, because if you don't have a healthy relationship, you won't have a healthy community. If you got a healthy relationship, you have a healthy community. See, and relationship plays a very important part in terms of having a healthy community. See, and this is where the key is. And coming back to what we're talking about, effective parenting, right? Right, effective parenting comes down to if two persons come together and making a healthy commitment to the youth. You know what I mean? It's the environment. You know, the presence of the environment was, to me, is the key. Is really the key. Leroy, you want to come in there?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, just respond to some of the comments. People are tuning in on this interesting debate. Yeah, I mean, what you touched there is key. That whole fabric. The dynamic of having the father figure in the house, or somebody who is that role model. Otherwise, if the father edges out, or there's no input, there's going to be replaced.
Yeah.
You know, and it's going to be found elsewhere. Yeah. There's somebody who believes they're going to have that same love for that person, and shows them something that they're missing, that they want, that they're desperately craving for, and the love that was touched on, that can't even be overstated. Like how important that is. You know, when I see how children develop, all of those primary years, those key years of who that person is. If they grow up and they don't feel they're valued, and so over the years they don't feel they're valued, they don't feel they're loved, because they still may be blaming themselves, you know, and it's so deep, like what happens, and then you end up with, it's almost that sometimes it happens where the person grows into an adult and their life doesn't reflect their growing up, their childhood at all.
Right.
Because they don't want that for their own children.
Yeah. But just to right on what you're saying. Yeah. Right. If you remember last time, I think it was your cousin. She was saying that she's going through some challenges because the relationship she had with her mum and so forth. Yeah. Right. And then what happened with her, that she, went to done counselling herself, and eventually when she got herself together, she brought her mum to counselling, because the thing is that her mum had when they were young, you know what I mean, and obviously things went on right, and trauma and all that stuff there. Yep. But it's interesting that, you see, a lot of issues come down to trauma. And because you're immature, right, you probably don't know no better, really.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And, you know, you abuse yourself and resolve that the child become being abused mentally as well. And because they're looking for love and that stuff there, they'll look at it from somewhere. You can get it from taking crack cocaine, you know what I mean? You know?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
You know?
And I think just what you just touched on there, like in my cousin's case, that she did something that a lot of people wouldn't be prepared to do, which was actually take the time and as I think I love what's his name, Mervyn Barrett talks about taking yourself on. She was prepared to look at her life, her journey, and rather than blaming, because it's easy to blame, and every time you point blame to somebody, there's another 4 fingers pointing back at yourself. So she decided to kind of take herself on in terms of, I can't be going down this route. Why am I doing this and this relationship, this friction, and a case of actually reaching out to her father, which she didn't have a great relationship with, and you know, because the mother and father weren't together, but then now doing her bit, actually, and sometimes we do things and not necessarily, you know, we walk around with the hurt and stuff, and we have to forgive those. Otherwise, we just end up just being. We're not effective human beings, you know. We are not being our best version of ourselves by walking around and just you know, having that hurt. And like as you mentioned, people can easily dive into drink, cocaine, crack, whatever it is, because there's hurt.
Yeah, there's hurt. There's hurt.
And people want to blank that out.
Yeah, there's hurt. Because the biggest force in life is pain and pleasure, and most people run from pain to pleasure. You know, it's just a mask. You know, we see people. Because you know, it's interesting because there's a youth I get to know, right? And you know, he has some little funny ways about him, right? You know? And you know, and I couldn't work out why I'm still so. And I wanted to find out he's been through a lot of trauma. He was in the army, and he experienced the war, and you know, it's trauma. But he's got a lot of hurt inside of him. You see what I'm saying? It's a lot of stuff he hasn't dealt with, you know, and stuff, you know. So you find a lot of root of this stuff there is trauma, you know what I mean, and the hurt, you know, and thing, you know. So yeah, you want to say something, sis? No? Oh,
I was just going to say one last thing. Is those unresolved issues. Yeah, it's the unresolved issues that just they take on its own life. If you don't get to that end point. And like I say, people, a lot of children and stuff, they become adults. They're still searching for that love. They never got it for whatever reason, and they still believe that they are to blame because of the breakdown. Why? If you loved me, why would you leave me? Kind of thing. Why would my dad leave me? Why wouldn't he make that phone call? You know what I'm saying? So there's so many different. I mean, yeah, again, probably I haven't got time to go through it all, but. There's so many things there why we end up with what we have, you know, because if you're not going to find it from your own, you're going to say, well, you know what, these guys are showing me that, you know, what they're at least taking interest in me. You know what I'm saying? They're there when I call them. And so, you know, if you've got a parent or you know, or somebody who's left their family household, you're going to try and want to replicate that from somewhere else. So that pain and pleasure thing you mentioned, it's absolutely huge. The whole cause and effect thing, again, if that's not dealt with, that looked at, then you know, that again is another area that a lot of people don't want to go there because it is painful.
It's painful. Okay, let me just play this recording here.
I've got a minute or so to build my community. So let me just adjust my crown.
Well, I love this brother here, you know.
Crown, I'm not talking about the crown. Yeah. I've got a minute or so to build my community. So let me just adjust my crown. When I'm talking about my crown, I'm not talking about the crown on my head. I'm talking about my community. That's our crown. So I'm saying Tottenham, Hackney, Wood Green, Stonebridge, Brixton. Let's link up. Let's build up this community. Let's come together as one. Yeah, we can do this. We've been talking about this for ages. Let's do it. Yeah? Let's change our mindset. Let's build our community in a way. Let's build banks. Let's build universities. Let's build schools. Let's build estates. Around where you look and all you can see is new builds. We ain't got no part in that. But we're saying that we own the ends. We don't own no ends. Let's build up our community. Let's take back what's ours. Let's capture the land. Let's walk on this captured land and capture this land. Because it's our land. We can do it. Anywhere that our foot trod, that's where we're going to possess. We're going to capture, we're going to take over. We can do this. If we come together, it's a mad thing. Trust me. I believe in you. You can do this. You've come too far for this, kid.
Why does it take a young man, with all the resources that the government are talking about pouring into everything, how is it takes a young man to take it on his own back to go out and actually take knives and guns off the streets? I don't get it. The government say they're supposed to be funding this, they're looking for solutions. But one of the solutions to me is to actually go out there and take them off the streets. And for me, I don't see why a young man should have to take on that responsibility with all of these different organisations. So what is it that drives you to do that?
It's the right thing to do, innit? It's life, innit? And obviously it's like, it's not even the fast amnesty thing, innit? It's the thing, innit? Because it's the thing that's actively taking knives off the roadside, innit? And bruv, I know, and like the system knows, and not a lot of other people know, that it costs the system, innit? Like just talking, like just going beyond like death and people being heartbroken for the rest of their life, and or for losing a child or a family member, that it costs the system so much, like to even process a murder, innit? Like 1.7 million just to process a murder, Each murder. And I know for a fact, that anytime a police officer gets a knife or something, it's not like it's either been found or they've had to physically arrest them or have some crazy intelligence to ascertain, or search warrants and manpower, like to get the stuff that I'm taking off of the street, innit? And I've got a sense of trust and communication with the children where they're willingly bringing it to me, innit? So how can that be ignored?
See, that's
finding it crazy right now.
That's what I find. You see, you said it exactly there. You got to trust. They trust you, and they don't trust anybody else. And so that's what's actually amazing, that they trust you. So this is something that works. You see, when the government are talking about solution, this actually works, is that you're going out there and you're effectively saving lives every single day. And I know you get flack for it. I know that people say to you, you know what I mean, why are you going out there doing this? But you've got your own reasons for doing it, and because you're passionate about life. And that's really clear to me, you know what I mean?
It's like, how can I say, man, like, if the whole world can't realise that the children are our future, then like where do we stand as a race? Do you get me? Because where do you think our future athletes and our future doctors and our future nurses and politicians are coming from? Do you understand? But obviously it's a thing like, I don't know, when you're in a certain part of society, then I don't know, maybe the priority of care to them just ain't as great as it would be to other people. But do you know what? This is where I come from, so that's my priority, and that's my pride and my care. And it's just like, it's not even hard for me to do, man. Like, it's a natural thing. Do you get me, bro? Like, as I said, like when I got stabbed, like I've been stabbed 9 times on 2 different occasions.
Wow.
And
so what you're doing really is to you.
It happened when I was defending people I loved. Do you understand?
Yeah.
And guess what? Like, if I have to put myself in front of that again,
you do it again.
Because that's my like that's what I'm here for. Like, I'm a protector to the people I love, innit? And the way I see it, I'm a big brother and I'm a father to a lot of these young kids in the community. And I just wish that when I was their age, if I had a better bit of guidance, then maybe, you know, like I wouldn't have faced so much turmoil in growing up. Do you get me? But obviously, like, man just found a way to make negative into a positive driving force. Do you feel me?
I swear that there ain't nothing that's gonna stop me from grinding in these roads to stop what's going on. Yeah.
And if it means I have to risk myself and my freedom out here on the roadside, then so be it. If it's in my heart, I know I'm doing the right thing. So blessed to you, man, and I'm gonna keep grinding. Every single message I get, I'm gonna respond to it. Every younger that needs help or they got something they don't want, I'm gonna respond to it. So if it makes me a bad person doing that, then so be it.
Yes, my name is the Right Honorable Anthony Bryan. Yes, I am a Tottenham dweller, see, and I dwell in Tottenham. For my days were in Tottenham, and many of my years were spent in Tottenham. Yeah, I know the roads, I've felt the hurts, I've done the wrongs, but now I'm doing good. Just like Moses, he was a Pharaoh's son before he was called by the Almighty One. So this is the time where we should be called and want to be called by righteousness. Because we see Tottenham has been invaded, yet it doesn't hurt if love is the binding strength. For to be civil is to get along, and to be nice is to be nice. But Tottenham has changed. One would say for the bad. But if one looks deep within, it would be for the better. For we see war and strife, we see poverty and hurt, we see damnation and drugs rife throughout out of Tottenham. But still, the little buds, they grow. The schools ring with the choirs of joy. Teach them in the way in which they should go. You know, guide them up. Let them know that they are peculiar. Let them know that there is better than just the capitalism, the food, the rent, the tax, the pain. You know, let them know that the Father has sent angels, you know, to receive them. So when they see a light, go to the light and eat from the cup of that light. For in that light there is life. Good words bring life, and bad words bring death. Come, let's lift up Tottenham, because the Almighty God is with us. Holy King Emmanuel, King Selassie, Jah, Rastafari.
Oh, yeah. Sweet love. Woman needs love just like you do. Don't kid yourself into thinking that she don't. She can fool around just like you do. Unless you give her all the loving she wants. Don't make the mistake of thinking old-fashioned. Times have changed from yesterday. No longer will those old double standards be accepted by the women of today. So when you think you're fooling her, she just might be fooling you. Remember, if you can do it, she can too. A woman needs love just like you do. Don't kid yourself in thinking that she don't, 'cause she can fool around just like you do. Unless you give her all the loving she wants. When her eyes are begging for affection, don't put her off, don't make her wait, no. Don't try to give her that worn out excuse about being tired and working late. I tell you, one day you'll come home early from work, yeah. Open up the door and get your feelings hurt, 'cause a woman needs love just like you do. A woman's got to have it, oh yeah, just like you. And if you're smart, you better stop fooling around, yeah, yeah, 'cause she will too, yeah. because she needs it. Just like you do. You gotta give her love. Oh, yeah.
Kids out there, respect your mummy, you know. I respect your papa, you know. You see, when you see your youth moving sideways from a young age, step up into his chest quick. Nip it in the bud early, because they're telltale signs of a downward spiral. It's not a joke out here. It's a very serious issue. Yo, I'm gonna give it to you a little raw right now. Kids out there, respect your mummy, you know. I respect your papa, you know. You see, when you see your youth moving sideways from a young age, step up into his chest quick. Nip it in the bud early, because they're telltale signs of a downward spiral. It's not a joke out here. It's a very serious issue. Yeah? Dads, if you're not with the parents, if you're not with the mother of your child, still play an active role in that youth's life. Yeah? It's detrimental. It's serious. Most youths ain't living to see past 18, 19 years old. Through gang culture and other peers leading them astray, it is very important to have some sort of male role model bringing up these young boys and growing them into men. Time! I'm saying time! Time! Spend some time with your youths then. Don't leave them in front of the PS4. Don't leave them on the tablet for too long. Spend some time with them. Have a chat. How was your day? What did you do? Don't just leave them to technology. You leave them to technology, you leave them to a whole different thing. What I feel like? I talk to enough of the man then out there, you know. No, some of them really workless, you know. When I have some workless behavior, you know. Yeah? You're quick to get the designer clothes, but you're not checking for those youths there. Check for them. Yeah? That's what I'm making you look know right now. It's not a joke. Because you're not with the baby mother, because you're not getting the cho-cho no more, you don't want to mind the picnic. Are you mad? Are you mad that you still needs to eat, still needs to be clothed, and still needs to be fed? With or without you. Know this. Youths are the future. Tomorrow's kings and queens. Peace. Yo, I'm gonna give it to you a rule right now. Kids out there, respect your mummy, you know. I respect your papa, you know. You see, when you see your youth moving sideways from a young age, step up into his chest quick. Nip it in the bud early, because they're telltale signs of a downward spiral. It's not a joke out here. It's a very serious issue. Yeah? Dads, if you're not with the parents, if you're not with the mother of your child, still play an active role in that youth's life. Yeah? It's detrimental. It's serious. Most youths ain't living to see past 18, 19 years old. Through gang culture and other peers leading them astray, it is very important to have some sort of male role model bringing up these young boys and growing them into men. Time! I'm saying time! Time! Spend some time with your youths then. Don't leave them in front of the PS4. Don't leave them on the tablet for too long. Spend some time with them. Have a chat. How was your day? What did you do? Don't just leave them to technology. You leave them to technology, you leave them to a whole different thing. What I feel like? I talk to enough of the man then out there, you know. Some of them really workless, you know. When I have some workless behavior, you know. Yeah? You're quick to get the designer clothes, but you're not checking for those youths there. Check for them. Yeah? That's what I'm making you look know right now. It's not a joke. Because you're not with the baby mother, because you're not getting the cho-cho no more, you don't want to mind the picnic. Are you mad? Are you mad that you still needs to eat, still needs to be clothed, and still needs to be fed? With or without you. Know this. Youths are the future. Tomorrow's kings and queens. Peace.
Scrumping. No more climbing over someone's fence to steal their apples. No. We're not stealing. In the name of scrumping was our defense. After all, these apples, they'd only fall and rot on the ground. We'll give Mama some cooking apples to make apple pie and save her some pounds. At first it all seemed to make sense until chocolate bars slipped into our pockets to save us some pence. From chocolate bars to prison bars, through which we observed moon and stars, wondering where it all went. And the voice said, "Didn't you think to ask?" No. Why? Because they'd only say no. But sooner or later, you'd get a yes, and the apples you'd receive wouldn't be cursed, but blessed. Blessed love. And that's for parenting. Remember, when the children come home, whether it's apples or some new this or that or trains or whatever, ask them, where you get that from? No, you mustn't go and steal your neighbor's apples, because those stealing could end up to a prison custody eventually. Violence and crime as we know it today, with the epidemic that's going on. So watch out for those little things, parents, and uproot them before they grow. Blessed love.
Just leave it.
Yes, wonderful. Thanks, Dougie, for having me on. I have to depart, but the debate, let it continue. The big thing is, with all types of relationships is communication, and we do live in this communication world of technology. That's my thing. That's my background. But man, there has to be limits. Has to be limits on that. That cannot replace a human being. It cannot replace dialogue. Sometimes I feel we've almost lost the art of dialogue, and finding out and taking that time, that interest in development, where that child, with that teenager, with that adult wants that dialogue, wants that interaction. You may not think they do, but make it your duty to, because it's essential. It's an essential part of growing and taking that that extended interest. Not just being happy with, I would say that utilizing what we have, like we're very big net these days on going online and doing stuff, but it's almost like having that, okay, an hour's gone, that is it, that time parameter. So now we're going to spend time in doing something that doesn't involve that. We want to do something that kind of stimulates your mind in a different way, and having that, the guy that was talking there, this is what he was talking about, man. Love that whole idea. We have to really be thinking on that level, our own banks, our own schools, our own everything, because we do have the power. Financially, we have the power, and we can make such a difference by making a stance that people will actually take notice, and it has to be radical in that way, because otherwise it will just go on like it doesn't mean anything. So there's a lot of things that we in 2020 and beyond we can really look forward to making some major inroads, but it's that coming together one way or the other, and having that stance that this is like almost an unacceptable thing that we're not going to continue with. We've got to make that stance, and the only way to move forward, I believe, is doing something on a level that everybody, the people that are in power that we can tap into, really starts to get that grassroots back. And I think it's like bringing that family dynamic back. to grow our community in those areas, in those ways.
Okay then. Okay, well, Lou, I know you got to make a move now. You want to give your email address, or is it your Facebook and stuff?
Yeah, so my Instagram, my Facebook is Leroy E. Lawson. You can reach me on those, and same with Twitter. You can direct message me there as well. And yeah, anything I've spoken about in terms of what we're going to be doing. If you want to find out more on how to grow your own economy, so that you're not subjected to the ways of what you may think is the only way of building up your own equity, is coming along next month, March the 14th. It's going to be an event there which is empowering a lot of people financially to help themselves and help their family, so they're not subjected to whatever outside forces want to do. You can now actually take control, take ownership of your own destiny financially in that respect.
Okay then, fantastic. Okay, blessing, love. Okay, so Leroy's gonna make a move, and then what we're gonna do now, we'll continue the reasoning, and I'm gonna ask Doreen and Tamara to talk about the event what took place last week at the Chestnut Community Centre, and it was a powerful event because we focused a lot of stuff around how we're gonna move forward and that. Okay, someone's trying to ring me, but you got to ring me on the live link number, if you don't mind. Okay. If I can just play this. I'm going to play a little record of Yvonne Lawson.
Hey, my family.
Yvonne Lawson's your family?
I don't know. She's a Lawson.
Oh. She's...
So you're related.
You know what I'm saying?
Okay, that's interesting.
Anti-knife campaigners have urged the Metropolitan Police to use caution if they increase the use of stop and search. It comes after the Commissioner, Sir Bernard Hogan-Howe, revealed the tactic may need to be used more following a rise in stabbings. It puts Scotland Yard on a collision course with the government. Nick Beake's report does start with images some viewers may find distressing.
Cardiac arrest after being stabbed.
The devastating consequences of knife crime were captured by a team filming with the Met, which will be broadcast tonight. Officers did all they could, but there was nothing to save the teenager. A-level student Ali Muddin was murdered in an argument over £90. A killing which was part of a recent rise in youth knife crime, and the Commissioner thinks boosting the number of targeted stop and searches could help tackle the problem.
It's a reasonable tactic in the right way, but I don't want to see us to return to the over 1 million stop searches, but there may be an argument for us doing more of it.
Knife crime had fallen by a third in the past few years, but in the past 12 months there were more than 1,600 stabbings of under 25s, a rise of 21%. During the same time there were around 180,000 stop and searches, a fall of 38%.
It's one of the ways to reduce crime.
Yvonne Lawson has campaigned against knives since her son Godwin was stabbed to death in Enfield 5 years ago. She feels more stop and search could be effective, but has concerns about how it's done.
There should be a really tangible reason for stopping and searching, not just searching them because of colour.
In Tottenham, the word stop and search can rouse strong feelings.
Being stopped by the same people 5 times in a week, it actually hurts. They're supposed to be protecting us.
I think even little kids and certain teenagers are getting stopped innocently, and I think that is wrong.
They should stop and search because there are bad people out there that have weapons on them.
A difference of opinion on this issue isn't just confined to here in Tottenham. The Met Police Commissioner may well have said there could be more stop and searches in the fight against knife crime, but the Home Secretary, Theresa May, has made it perfectly clear that she expects the overall number to be falling and has threatened to introduce new laws if that doesn't happen.
Now that we have some statistics on this, I think we need to go back to the people of London and to ask them about this. And I think this big conversation should be done by the Mayor.
Sources at City Hall say it's too early to say if the fall in stop and search is linked to the rise in youth stabbings, but say overall knife crime is at its lowest level in 7 years. Nick Beak, BBC London News.
Me, I'm sick and tired of the excuses. I'm tired of all the people who are not doing what they're supposed to be doing, blaming the government, blaming the youths. Yes, we've got an epidemic right now that is again on the rise with a lot of the young people that are killing themselves. But I want to take it back to basic parenting, that is. What happened to the family dynamics? There's cuts going on right about now to youth clubs, youth centres and so forth that we had in place back in the 70s, back in the 80s and early 90s. They ain't there no more. But what's the excuse why you can't do an activity with your child? How many of the chicken shops are actually feeding your children after school? How many of you are ensuring that your children are having a breakfast? And then how many of you have made sure that your child has got a smartphone or the latest to keep up? Just on my way down to this venue right now, I witnessed a mother with 2 children that were under 10 years old. The mother was away from the children. I was observing the children above because I was thinking, where is the parent? So I'm looking, the mother had on headphones and she's there on her phone or her device, whatever it was that she was on. But the point of the matter is, she wasn't anywhere near her children. And this is what is going on with society. Parents need some help to parent. I don't mind being persecuted. I don't mind standing up in front of a camera and putting myself out like this to ensure that more parents start parenting. Stop trying to be your child's friend. You are their parent. But not only when you have to go and kick off at the child's school. That's not how you support your child in education. You can support your child in education by joining the PTA, by ensuring that your child's homework is done on time, by ensuring that you're there. But these are the things, the fundamental things that we all grew with that are now being left behind. Most of the parents want to ensure that they've got a full set of nails or that their children, I'm talking about the girl children, they've got weave longer than their flipping skirts. You understand what I'm saying to you? I'm not into that. I'm thinking that until you're about 18, that's when you should be having yourself looking like a woman. Because that's bait right now for men and for young men out there. Because the children are not wanting to be children. I'm tired of it. If any point that what I'm saying is resonating and making you sit back from wherever you're watching this on and thinking, who is she? I'm a person in the community that cares about your children. You understand? I've only got one. Mine's doing just fine right about now. I know where he is. Me, I'm sick and tired of the excuses. I'm tired of all the people who are not doing what they're supposed to be doing, blaming the government, blaming the youths. Yes, we've got an epidemic right now that is again on the rise with a lot of the young people that are killing themselves. But I want to take it back to basic parenting, that is. What happened to the family dynamics? There's cuts going on right about now to youth clubs, youth centres and so forth that we had in place back in the 70s, back in the 80s and early 90s. They ain't there no more. But what's the excuse why you can't do an activity with your child? How many of the chicken shops are actually feeding your children after school? How many of you are ensuring that your children are having a breakfast? And then how many of you have made sure that your child has got a smartphone or the latest to keep up? Just on my way down to this venue right now, I witnessed a mother with 2 children that were under 10 years old. The mother was away from the children. I was observing the children above because I was thinking, where is the parent? So I'm looking, the mother had on headphones and she's there on her phone or her device, whatever it was that she was on. But the point of the matter is, she wasn't anywhere near her children. And this is what is going on with society. Parents need some help to parent. I don't mind being persecuted. I don't mind standing up in front of a camera and putting myself out like this to ensure that more parents start parenting. Stop trying to be your child's friend. You are their parent. But not only when you have to go and kick off at the child's school. That's not how you support your child in education. You could support your child in education by joining the PTA, by ensuring that your child's homework is done on time, by ensuring that you're there. But these are the things, the fundamental things that we all grew with that are now being left behind. Most of the parents want to ensure that they've got a full set of nails, or that their children, I'm talking about the girl children, they've got weave longer than their flipping skirts. You understand what I'm saying to you? I'm not into that. I'm thinking that until you're about 18, that's when you should be having yourself looking like a woman, because that's bait right now for men and for young men out there, because the children are not wanting to be children. I'm tired of it. If any point that what I'm saying is resonating and making you sit back from wherever you're watching this on and thinking, who is she? I'm a person in the community that cares about your children. You understand? I've only got one. Mine's doing just fine right about now. I know where he is. I know what he's doing. And do you know why? Because I made it my business to learn. I made sure that I knew who his friends were. I made sure I knew who his friends' parents were. I made sure I knew where they lived. You understand? A phone number is not enough to warrant my child going round there. Equally, there's a lot of people that are blaming the young people out here for all what's going on in the roads and the devastation that is befalling us as a nation of people. But I'm telling you, it comes back to basic parenting. How many of you parents are in the dance, and when the dance finished, you're looking to go to the after party in opposed to going home and there going and look back your children? You're making the whole community have to parent your child now. This is getting beyond the joke. And at the end of the day, while God gives me health and strength, I should be out here at every opportunity trying to pull up you parents. And as I said, if it resonates with you, so be it.
Yes, sisters and brothers, lords and ladies, kings and queens. I'm here with our beautiful sister, Doreen, I believe. And we were both at the effective parenting workshop at the Chestnut Community Center. When was it, last week?
It was the week before, I think it was.
Week before last. And what did you think about the event?
I thought it was very well attended, and one of the things I liked most of all was that there was also quite a number of young people there as well, you know, who wanted to make a difference in the community, who were involved in youth clubs and so forth. And that really kind of inspired me. And I said, yeah, look at that. See, our young people, because everyone tries to always demonize our young people like they're rubbish and this and that, and they're all just criminals and so forth. And the thing is, there are young people who are also concerned that their friends are dying on the streets as well.
I'm glad you said that, because people forget that most of our youths actually are very good children, and a lot of them are working and they've got great qualifications. Some of them are actually earning very good money as well. They've got some real high-flying jobs, some of these youngsters, you know, our young youths today. And the fact is, you know, I call them the forgotten good, and it just leads me to the point to say that it's time that we started to glorify these youths who are doing well on the straight path, clean and sober and all that sort of thing, you know, living a very honest life to the best of their ability and so on, respecting their parents and, you know, and things like that, and being a useful member of our community rather than a useless one. And what's your take on that anyway?
Yes, I agree, because I feel that all of our young people are just bunched together, and I think everybody seems to have an opinion about our young people these days. And I think one of the issues as well, as parents and as elders and carers, etc., in our community, excuse me, it's just that I feel that we have not been supporting and protecting our young people. We've allowed the system to take them and do with them as they like. We've allowed the police to abuse our young people, and at the end of the day, we need to do more to protect our young people and to empower them, as well as to educate them and support them in everything that they want to do. And I don't think as adults we have done our job. As a community, we have done our job. And really we have to hold our hands up and in some ways ask them for forgiveness, the fact that we have not been doing what we were supposed to be doing as adults, in terms of we should be the ones who are the main socializers of our children. It shouldn't be anybody else. When your children go to school, it doesn't mean that you can forget that they're there. You need to make sure that they're having a positive experience, and if they're not, then questions need to be asked. If they're being made to feel that they are, they're less than, when we know that they are so much more, and they can step into their greatness, then we need to do something about it. And that is the reality of the situation. We need to provide our young people with more support, because I think most of them, especially in the school system, their experiences is negative. They're made to feel that they are not going to accomplish very much in life. And we have to change that, because one of the things I was speaking to Dougie about was the thing is, because the education system, most of our young people are being failed by the education system. There are some who are managing to get through, and with good grades, etc., but the majority are not. And if the education system is not going to change, we seriously have to consider taking our children out of that education system, building our own schools, providing alternatives for them in the same way that the Jewish community does that with their children. We may have to do the same with our children, and that is a reality, that we have to give that serious consideration. And one of the things I mentioned to Dougie is that we should be having maybe a day of action whereby we all take our children out of school for a day, but it's not just a little jolly, it's a day of community development and empowerment, because and also to highlight to the media, to the schools, to the Department of Education, that they're not doing well by our children.
Yes, and it's a show of unity that we're one in something, in that decision. And the fact is that the girls, because we're always talking about the boys, but there are a lot of girls who are also involved in this. Girls also are getting murdered, and girls are also involved in shotting crack cocaine and things like that. And yes, there's a lot of young girls involved, and as you just mentioned, there's a lack of love. Well, what you just spoke about to me sounded like there's a lack of love from the parents. Parents say that they love their children because they bought them a Ralph Lauren shirt and all that. That is not love. I mean, that is a material gift that but love, and they think it stops there. There's no communication. There's only here's this, here's that, and so the children, they grow up with this materialistic mentality where there's no love, there's just material things. Love is spending quality time with your children, asking them about how do you feel. It's very important to know how we feel, and not how and focusing on how we look all the time. And but I'd like to go further more about, if we could talk a bit more about the the event. Was there any other points that came out from the event that really resonated with you?
When some of the mothers were just explaining about their, their experience of what has happened to their children, and in particular, Mrs. Lawson, who lost her son to knife crime when he wasn't really involved in knife crime. He was just visiting some friends. And it was just such a awful experience that I would never want any mother or any, of that person's family to go through, and to lose a young life has been lost, and it was a needless death. And those kind of things where knife crime has touched so many people, it's just, it's just an awful thing, I think.
Yes, it's an insane thing. It's a godless thing, and which leads us back to spirituality. As a people, being a spiritual people, we haven't been acting spiritual at all. Because if we were being spiritual, we'd be looking after our children a lot better than what we've been doing. And if we were spiritual, we'd really be united under one God, one Creator, one power, the power of love, the power of light, the power of healing, the power of joy, wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, the power of truth, these sort of things here, integrity. And we're lacking in these areas, and it's a damn shame, really, that but it's all within us. So personally, I feel that we've got to stop looking on the outside and looking within for our solutions, because money alone isn't going to solve our problems.
That is so true. That is so true. And also at the event, one of the things that resonated with me in particular was a lady came in who was a teacher, and she was talking about that we live in a society where the abnormal has become normal, you say. Yes. And so, we kind of become desensitized to things that are abnormal. It's become part of, people don't look on it anymore as anything but normal when it isn't, and that is one of the issues with. And she said, in some ways, we are all mad. We're all suffering some kind of mental illness because we are living in an abnormal society, but we don't know that it is abnormal. And the things that we're expected to accept these days as normal, there's a lot of pressure on so many different areas in terms of sexuality and etc. that we're meant to be accepting as the norm. Yes. And it's difficult, and that creates a conflict in terms of people's values and spiritual beliefs as well. Do you see?
Yes, absolutely. And the thing is that return to spirituality, which is spiritual people that we are. Our history is rooted in spirituality. Absolutely. And my understanding is that as spiritual people, the reason why we're suffering so much today and why things have reached such a terrible crisis as it is today is because instead of putting our Creator first, our Creator is last. Instead of being obedient to natural laws of nature, natural spiritual laws which was even handed to us, you could say the 10 Commandments and things like that. If we only, as a matter of fact, it is written that if we just simply listen to what our Creator told us to do, like via the 10 Commandments is one, we would be the head of society instead of being at the tail of society. Yes, in Deuteronomy 28, and it showed us about the blessings and the curses. And cursed are we for disobeying our Lord, our God, our Creator. And we shall always be at the tail end of society. No matter what we do, we will never get nowhere, and so on. And we're seeing this happening all around us. But if we, relinquish, our egos and behave obediently towards the commands, towards the love and the directions and the guidance that our Creator has given us, we'll be at the head of society. We will flourish. Our children will be blessed. In all that we do, we shall prosper. And this is what is lacking. We have to put God first. We have to let that holy almighty creative spirit, that loving spirit from which we all originate from, dominate our lives instead of letting it, instead of suppressing it with pursuit of material and financial gain and egotistical gains, like how do I look, and I look lovely, and that sort of nonsense.
Because one of the key things as well is that, when you talk about spirituality, that is different to religion. I think people get the two confused, and because religion in a lot of cases divides people, but spirituality is something much higher, a much more conscious pursuit, I think.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Spirituality is a way of life. It's a natural thing. We're all born out of love, so let's just express the love. I mean, I remember the days when I was afraid to say I loved somebody, and things like that. I was afraid of the word love, of using it, because I says, it makes me look soft, it makes me look weak, and all the rest of it, when in fact that's where my strength is, that's where my life is, that's from what I was created. So once we reject, the source of where we come from, we're on a very slippery slope into darkness, to be honest.
I want to just jump in. I just want to jump in here. Sister will be moving very, very shortly. And what I want to do is, but one of the things we're discussing is a day of action. Yeah? No, you sit down there, my sister. You sit down there. Right? We're looking to do a day of action, Women Day of Action, where it's a personal development day, right? And what we're looking to do is get the children to be around, focus around personal development. So, for example, things like could be cookery, could be looking at business, or whatever the case may be, but focus around personal development. Yep. And what we're looking to do is take the children out to the school for that particular day, right? With two things. We're saying to the system that you're failing our kids them miserably, and we want to take them out. You know what I mean? And make them know, so we're not a joke. We're gonna have a day of action. See, a day of, I said day of action, day of action, day of personal development. See, and we bring
unity.
Yeah, unity, absolutely. See, so I want you to lab a bit more about that. Why you think that's important, and I want you to lab more on it, my sister.
I think we need to look at ways that we can bring our community together. So I think we really do, because when it comes to organising a rave, we can do that, and there's raves everywhere and everyone seems to know where they are. But when it comes to us coming together as a community and as a family, so that there's more kind of family events focused on just unity and love and bringing our community together, and our young people in particular, because they need to be included in this, and more things for them to actually learn how to interact in a positive way, and to feel empowered and to feel confident, and to know that they're in a safe environment, where they can express themselves with other people, with other young people, and maybe share experiences. Because I think one of the difficulties as well at the moment for a lot of young people is, their kind of cues in terms of how to interact with each other, especially as males and females, is coming from the internet and their friends, and they're not necessarily the right cues.
Okay, let me just jump in here, because the reason I'm jumping here, because when we was talking about the day of action, in terms of that the system is failing our kids them, yeah, and that is the reason. That's one of the reasons why, right? At the same time, look at a day of development, personal development. See,
and developing entrepreneurship, because I think a lot of our young people are very entrepreneurial in their outlook on life these days. You know,
and so forth. So we have to be clear. That is the purpose, the reason why. Yeah. So something we probably do. Don't have to be this year, but definitely next year. But it takes a lot of planning, and it's about really conscientizing our community, because people gonna ask you, why you want to have action, why you want to do this and that, and they have a good reason why to ask you that kind of question there, right? They got a good reason why to ask that kind of question there, right? But we have to be serious and have a day of action, and we take them out of the system, and this is what we want to do. See, so one of the things we're looking to do as we're speaking, those people who can see what we can see, come on board. Especially teachers, because next event we're having, we want to get as many teachers to come down there. I myself now engaged and start talking to some teachers and try to encourage many teachers to come down. See, because I would say that teachers do have part of the puzzle to this thing here. Because some kids do spend a lot of time to teach them. Because they're in the system, they have an idea what can be done, as well as the parents, you see. So it's a marriage. The parents and the teacher should come together, see, on what we're doing. Okay, then, what I want to do, because I know the sister's says she's got to detour very, very shortly. She's got other family commitments she's got to deal with. But it really is a pleasure to have our beautiful sister, Amanda, Sister Doreen. A very committed sister, a soldier in the community, and in fact she'll be part of the panel the next event on the 28th, that's Friday the 28th, at the Chestnut Community Centre. The time is from 6 to 9. Encourage people to come out, bring some snacks, bring something on, don't come with empty hand, please. Bring water or a packet of crisps. Just bring something to the table, right? So we can, as a family, we can break a bread together. Just, feel nice. See, and think. We're not asking people to not charging anybody for coming there, but at least you can bring us snacks so everybody can share. See, and it's about effective parenting. It's about taking responsibility. It's about looking at your thing about identity, culture, and looking at concrete solutions. How do we move forward? See? How do we move forward? It's not about moving forward, because we've got to be about moving forward, but it's working now to make things happen. There's a difference between talking and taking action, because taking action, you're committed, and that's where the work comes down to, And so we're gelling, we're in the right space. Tamara, how you feeling, man? How you feel about what's going on now?
Yes, brother. I'm feeling very positive. Things are making progress towards action, because that's the part I love, is the action. I don't mind a little chat, but we don't have to have a marathon talk before we go into action, brothers and sisters. And I was thinking of something while Brother D there, was talking, and it's about the action thing again. We seem to be so easily attracted to negative action. But when it comes to positive action, where are we? I mean, when people call for a riot, let's go and riot and let's, loot and all that and burn down the place. The whole country is out there, London, Birmingham, everywhere, everybody's rioting and blah, blah, blah. Well, come on, let's come together. Let's unite and achieve positive things, act in a positive way. Let's build our community instead of destroying our community.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Okay, then we're gonna put a pin in it now, because Sister Doreen is going to roll out very shortly now. So again, it's a pleasure to have Sister Doreen inside the house with our powerful contribution show, and from time to time we would encourage her to regular to be among us as a family too, just to reason, you know what I mean, and just move forward in the most constructive way. Those of us that's watching this thing online, please share it among other people, please, you know, because, you know, each one teach one. You want to get information out there, you know, get on BBC and ITV and them do DB place radio station and Coronation Street or EastEnders. Anytime in EastEnders liberate any group of people, please let me know and I'll sit down and watch that, you know what I mean? You know? So, you know, we have to be on top of things right now. So, Doreen, want to give thanks to you, yeah?
Thank you very much, Brother Dougie. Thank you.
Thank you, Sister Dave.
Thank you very much.
All right, then.
Find your voice.
Oh, yeah. Sweet love. Woman needs love just like you do. Don't kid yourself into thinking that she don't. She can fool around just like you do. Unless you give her all the loving she wants. Don't make the mistake of thinking old-fashioned. Times have changed from yesterday. No longer will those old double standards be accepted by the women of today. So when you think you're fooling her, she just might be fooling you. Remember, if you can do it, she can too. A woman needs love just like you do. Don't kid yourself in thinking that she don't. 'Cause she can fool around just like you do. Unless you give her all the loving she wants. When her eyes are begging for affection, don't put her off, don't make her wait, no. Don't try to give her that worn out excuse about being tired and working late. I tell you, one day you'll come home early from work, yeah. Open up the door and get your feelings hurt. 'Cause a woman needs love just like you do. A woman's got to have it, oh yeah, just like you. And if you're smart, you better stop fooling around, yeah, yeah. 'Cause she will too, yeah. Give her that love. Give her that sweet, sweet love. Give her that love. An example to you. By the time poor Jack returned up the hill, somebody else has been loving Jill because she needs it. Just like you do. You gotta give her love, oh yeah. Give her some loving in the morning. Give her some loving in the evening time. 'Cause she needs it, yeah. You do. Give her all the love she needs. Now, 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 now. Give her what you want, give her what you want.
I can't see how we could miss out.
Yeah, because, you know,
Find your voice. Find your voice on Bless FM. With D. DJ Dougie. Find your voice on Bless FM with DJ Dougie. Blessed love to all the community.